The National Archives says 5,400 Biden emails where he's using fake names. And according to a lawsuit, he's using these to engage in illicit business dealings with his son, Hunter. We've known about some of these aliases for quite a while now, and they were through government addresses. I think this shows at this point, it's almost pointless to even bring up because we all know Joe Biden was doing this. We all know he was influence peddling. We all know Hunter Biden was engaged in business dealings overseas. We all know that Donald Trump was trying to expose this, and for that, they impeached him. But I guess with this new information coming out and NARA saying that they can't just release these records quite yet, we should at least address the news. We'll talk about that. Plus, one of my favorite stories of the day, Rachel Maddow says that Donald Trump, if he wins, will probably be president for life. And she's not wrong, because Donald Trump is nearly the average life expectancy. So for life means probably one more term. Let's be real. I wish the president best of health. But no, she literally means they'll be president like 100 years old, because these people live in a crazy crackpot reality where Russia could turn off your electricity in the middle of winter and you'll die. So we'll talk about that. And then this very viral story, 12-year-old boy had a Gadsden flag patch. And so his school removed him, saying that the Gadsden flag is associated with slavery, so you can't have it. We'll be getting into those stories. Before we do, my friends, head over to timcast.com. Click Join Us. Join us as a member at timcast.com. Join timcast.com to support us directly, but also to check out the members-only uncensored show that we put up Monday through Thursday at 10 p.m. As a member, you'll get access to these segments, a massive library of all our past segments, and you can submit questions and even call in to talk to us live on the Uncensored Show. You got to sign up for at least 6 months or sign up at the $25 per month level. It's kind of a screener we do to make sure that we're not getting crackpots and weirdos trying to come in and just cause us problems, but it is available to you. So please consider signing up and joining us. But also, if you go to timcast.com, you can click Timcast IRL X Miami. If you want to watch me and Luke Rutkowski host a show with Patrick Bet-David, Donald Trump Jr., and Matt Gaetz, get your tickets now. We've sold, I think, about 130 or so of 800, and this just launched last week. So we're probably looking at another week or so of availability. The first event we did had only around, I think, like 100 to 200 tickets, and we saw those in about a day or two. So it looks like we're tracking comparably at this rate of sales. We did a bigger venue, and hopefully we will see you all there. It should be fun. There's going to be a pre-show, and there's going to be an after show with Q&A and all that stuff. It's going to be awesome. Really excited. This will be October 6th. Go to timcast.com. Pick up your tickets now. Also, don't forget to smash that like button. Subscribe to this channel. Share the show right now, wherever you can. If you really do want to help, word of mouth really helps podcasts grow. You can follow the show at Timcast IRL. Joining us tonight to talk about this and so much more is Nick Sortor.
How you doing, Tim?
You want to grab your microphone?
I should grab my microphone, yeah.
Microphone would help. So, who are you? What do you do?
I'm an independent journalist. I am somebody that covers stories that you don't really see in the mainstream media. It seems like a lot of them have a narrative. Maybe they're pushing based on another entity or
political agenda.
And so basically I go to places like East Palestine, Ohio. I was in Maui last week. Covering the fires out there because, somebody has to hold the government accountable here because, it seems like for years and years, you have all these corporate media outlets and you didn't hear a lot of these stories. And this stuff isn't new when it comes to government cover-ups and stuff. But
you hear the inverse, actually, they protect them.
They protect them.
Yeah.
Absolutely, they protect them. So I'm glad that we finally have a platform such as X, that, we can kind of broadcast this stuff out to, and it scares these government officials. So, and we're going to keep on with that.
Right on. Well, we'll definitely jump into the Hawaii stuff. So thanks for hanging out. Should be a blast.
Absolutely.
We got Hannah Claire hanging out.
Hey, I'm Hannah Claire Brimlow. I'm a writer for Timcast.com. It's the best news site of all time, in my personal opinion. Ian's here too.
Hi, everyone. Ian Crossland. I'm back. We finished the music video this last weekend. It was incredible. And I'm looking forward to tonight's show as well. I've been listening on the road a little bit. You guys holding down the fort while I'm gone.
To the best we can.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, Libby was Ian yesterday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That was a good show, man. Spike Cohen sounds like me. I was like, why? It sounds like I'm talking right now. It was Spike. But he's just got a lot more information about economics.
Yeah. And we got Kellen pressing the buttons.
That's right. I'm pushing buttons this week while Serge is in sunny Miami getting everything ready for that awesome event. So let's get started, guys.
Here's the story from the New York Post. National Archives has 5,400 Biden emails in which he uses fake names to dish government info to Hunter and others as VP. That's the general idea. He is engaging in illicit business dealings by giving private information to his son, who then acts as his proxy. And now we're hearing, this is the breaking news from today, the National Archive, quote, drags its heels on the release of these records related to Biden's pseudonyms after a 2022 FOIA request. They say, from the Post-Millennial, the National Archives and Records Administration revealed on Monday that it is in possession of around 5,400 documents. This we know. The group's request, this is Southeastern Legal Foundation, sought emails related to the accounts of J.R.B. Ware, Robin Ware, and Robert L. Peters, pseudonyms that Biden was known to use during his time as vice president. The foundation filed on Monday against NARA for the release of the records, claiming that these records may show that Biden had forwarded government information and discussed government business with Hunter Biden as well as others. I think the general idea is he did do that, and there are emails in which Hunter Biden is CC'd where government information is being given out. Quote, all too often, public officials abuse their power by using it for their personal or political benefit. When they do, many seek to hide it. The only way to preserve governmental integrity is for NARA to release Biden's nearly 5,400 emails to SLF, and thus the public, the American people, deserves to know what is in them, said Kimberly Herman, SLF General Counsel. Okay, they're accusing NARA of dragging its heels, saying that they can't just release them as of yet. But I got to be honest, while it should be really big news. We had the Victor Shokin story come out last week. He gives an interview. He actually says, yes, I was fired because of the Bidens. Asked, do you think they were getting bribes? Like, yes, I do. He also has this is the prosecutor, and you can also has a sworn affidavit saying he was fired because of Joe Biden. Now we know you've got these records, potential strong evidence that Biden was doing exactly what he thought he was doing. And at a certain point, is it just like shrug, I guess? What do we do?
Well, this is no surprise to NARA either, okay? Because, I mean, they've had this for years. Keep in mind, Joe Biden was vice president up until, early 2017, January 2017. And, you have to think that NARA was the organization that ended up pursuing Donald Trump over the quote-unquote classified documents scandal. And, so it's not like plenty of time hasn't elapsed for NARA to come out and kind of raise a flag over this. If they are the presidential record keepers, how come they didn't come out with this back in 2017 or earlier?
Let's just add them to the list of corrupt government entities that are lying and manipulating the American public for the benefit of the Democratic Party.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think anyone would have assumed they were corrupt. I don't think anyone thinks about them that much, but this is the time.
Heard of them.
Or have heard of them. That's exactly right. When the Mar-a-Lago raid happened, I'm sure everyone was like Googling this organization saying, what do they do again? But it's important. And you can see now where you get these organizations that kind of operate in the background and get to be corrupt over time because no one knows to keep them accountable. I mean, that is one of the downsides of having such a massive government, right? We can't look at every place all the time all at once.
It's so wild to pull back the curtain and see how corrupt this government that we've been a part of, living off of for me 44 years, is like, how do we deal with that now? Now it's like it's this global resolve. Now we have to decide, how are we going to deal with the fact that so many leaders and processes in our system that we benefit from are corrupted. Yeah. How do we do it? Because we can't just make it end, then we all die. That's the end. You don't end it. You have to do something. Do you start arresting them one by? It's never happened, but like, what do we do?
It's never happened until Trump.
And it's happening in front of everyone on Earth.
Compromise. Maybe we don't arrest them. We send them to Alaska. I think that was Vivek's plan, right?
I feel like Alaska doesn't deserve that, They're doing nothing wrong.
That is true. They
have enough geographical challenges. They don't have all the sunlight.
I have to be honest. If I was working for the government, and they were like, you're being reassigned to Alaska, I'd be like, cool. That sounds awesome. Right. You're like, go fishing and polar bears and waterfalls, whatever.
You're just far enough away that you don't have to deal with it.
Like, all right. But no, I think that wasn't Vivek's plan. Like, reassign the FBI and just spread them all over into weird places.
Yeah, he wants to move into the Army, the Marshals, the U.S. Marshals, and two other organizations within the government.
I agree with you, Ian. And that's kind of the point I'm getting to with this story. I read this the other day, and I read today that they're dragging their heels or whatever. They're not going to release this. And I'm just like, how do I feel enthusiastic or shocked by this news to the point where I'm just like, heavens me, I must inform the people. I'm more like, well, yeah, what else is new?
I think that's playing to Joe Biden's advantage, right? The fact that we all know they're corrupt. So we're like, this is interesting information that we all already feel like we knew. There's no
they're
shock.
just adding to the pile here.
Right.
I mean, it's like we're coming to the point where you have James Comer, who is the House Oversight Committee chair, that keeps coming out with more and more and more information. But it's like, okay, yep, just it's.
Well, and Biden on the campaign trail in 2019 said, there was no hint of scandal when I was in the White House, and I specifically never asked my
Because they
son or
covered it
brother
up.
about their business dealings, which is interesting because number one, I feel like that's sort of unrealistic. You're his father, and you never ask him anything about
Robert
his job.
L. Peters asked. It wasn't.
Oh, that's
Joe
true.
Biden.
I
Yeah.
forgot.
It's going to be funny that there's like a guy appears on stage who looks kind of like Biden, and his name is Robert Peters.
Like he's
Like, I swear it wasn't me.
a real person.
Well,
No.
you know the Biden by Dan conspiracy?
I've vaguely heard of it.
You've never seen the Biden by Dan?
No.
Oh, come on. Are you
show
guys?
me.
You guys
Sorry,
got
Tim. You're better at
you-
being on the internet than the rest of us.
I apparently am because it's one of the funniest conspiracy theories ever. Let me.
Is this the body double one?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Here you go.
That's what I do know.
don't know, I
Is this the
zoom in on
earlobe
this.
Is this
thing?
the earlobe
Yeah.
thing where it looks like
Okay,
he's got
okay.
a
I
mask
didn't know it had a
on?
formal
Wow.
name.
Biden
there you
by
go.
He
Dan.
did go through a nasty transformation.
He got a bunch of plastic surgery,
it's a
dude.
facelift, right? That's what we all...
More than that.
At
Look at his
least.
nose. He got a bunch of work
I
done.
miss the old Biden, that old curmudgeon on the left, the one that hated crack cocaine.
Yeah.
It's like, the people have asked me, like, hey Nick, how did Joe Biden's earlobe become attached all of a sudden when
Facelift.
it was unattached?
Facelift. Yeah, he
Or
got
body double.
I
think
look,
it's facelift.
First, it's really funny when that the photo came out where it was like Hillary Clinton goes to a thing, an event, and everyone's like, that does not look like Hillary Clinton. It kind of did, but didn't. And then the corporate press was like, conspiracy theorists think there's a body double. Yo, they all have body doubles.
For sure. Why not?
Fact. They all do. It is like basic security protocol to have a body double. Not even like dude, in movies, actors have stunt doubles. You think that world leaders who are fearing for their safety as they travel abroad and go out in public don't have body doubles? Now, I'm not saying Biden by Dan or whatever is or isn't. I'm just saying that we can agree on they do, and it's absurd to think they don't. As to whether or not they replaced Joe Biden with another guy named by Dan, I think is ridiculous. And I think there's a much simpler solution. All you got to do is look at a picture of Madonna before and after and be like, how did Madonna's face get so swollen? How did her lips get so big? How did her nose get so small? It's like, well, dude, she's getting plastic surgery.
Do you remember when Kamala dropped out of the race and then kind of went dark for a minute, and then she came back to do some TV interview and she had clearly had a facelift, and that's when everyone was like, oh, she's going to be VP because she just went and got this work done.
Is
Because
that why she was going to become VP? Are we 100%
I don't think that's why
sure
she's
that-
going to be. I think that was the confirmation she had been asked to be VP.
Wow.
I love conspiracy theories because it just for a moment allows you to escape reality and imagine you're in an action movie. Unfortunately, people, I got to tell you, life is actually much more boring and routine than that. And it's just never as crazy as you think.
But is it though? Because all these conspiracy theories that we keep hearing about, with COVID and such, everybody that was called a conspiracy theorist.
No.
it's like-
Those are like, I think those are the conspiracy theories people joke about. Those are like when you talk about Wuhan lab, for instance, that's because someone went, hey, a virus emerged in a city with this lab where they're doing coronavirus research. And then the media called you a conspiracy theorist, even though your hypothesis is based in reality and quite likely very probable. I'm talking about Joe Biden being replaced. Look at this one. I love this. I'm talking about the hilarious conspiracy theories like Joe Biden being replaced by a body double named Biden. And I don't even know it. It's because Trump called him Biden. That's where the name comes from. Trump said, I have confidence that Chairman Kim will keep his promise to me, and also smiled when he called Swamp Man Joe Biden a low IQ individual. So now people are saying they're different people. Look, it's really, dude got a facelift.
No,
He got a bunch of plastic surgery. Look at his hair. They do it. I don't know. Or fine, whatever. C-SPAN said he's a different guy. He looks different. Fine, whatever. Believe whatever you want.
Were you going to say something?
Oh, I was going to say there was a whole period during the beginning part of his presidency where he would go to Delaware on the weekends and he'd wear his big aviators and a mask, and he and Jill would be out like doing whatever they're supposed to be doing, and they wouldn't hold hands. And that's when I was like, oh, I wouldn't be surprised if they have a body double, because if you are extremely worried about the oldest president in the U.S. potentially contracting, a virus, maybe you wouldn't want him to send him to crowded places. Like, there is a version of this where I could see a spin that would make sense. I don't actually know that it wasn't him. It just seemed like a plausible explanation that our sweet White House press secretary might offer at some point.
I thought it was, you brought up COVID. That's fascinating. I was just thinking that when you talk about, people think that life is like a movie and it's going to be as exciting as a movie. Dude, we had a bioweapon leak. Everyone thought it was going to be like The Stand, that Stephen King movie, or leak or release. No one knows. But
We'll slow down there a little bit and say bioweapon, conjecture perhaps, gain of function research, simply put, most likely.
Yeah, whether or not they were weaponizing it, I don't know what terminology. Essentially, a lab virus was being worked on. It got out. People were expecting it to be like bloody faces. The hospitals would be overloaded, so they overreacted. They were like, mandates, shut down, this and that. Hospitals got whacked a little bit, but we persisted because it's real life. The human body is meant to persist. We're now living with COVID. It's part of our environment now. It's part like the flu, the influenza. Like,
yeah, it's endemic.
It's with us forever. It will be with us and it will always be mutating with us. There's no need to panic anymore. Now we're living with it.
I think is there a phrase to describe the belief that things are like movies? You know what I mean?
So Elon Musk says that the most entertaining outcome is the most likely, and it seems like that makes more and more sense as time goes on.
I think it's a funny joke. I don't think it's true. I think
I think he believes it.
The most routine outcome, the most boring, actually tends to be the simplest. And people want it to be the most entertaining outcome. They say that because there's been a handful of instances where we've laughed about what's going on. But back to what you were saying about COVID. People watch movies, then think this is how things are, and then expect real life to be that way. Like The Sound of Guns, for instance. I love the sound of punches in movies. It's almost like a little miniature explosion. Yeah, right? It does not sound like that at all. And guns don't sound like that. And especially like one easy and simple example is like in Netflix, for instance. This woman has, it's the new episode of Black Mirror, and she has an AI making a story out of her life by predicting all of her behaviors. And she goes to her lawyer, and the lawyer's like, I'm sorry, the contract is ironclad. There's nothing you can do. And then people think that's true. People think that if you sign a contract with someone, the judge is going to go, well, you signed it. No, the judge is going to be like, what were the terms and why are they written? Okay, that makes no sense. Contract's dissolved. Judge can literally just tear it up in court and be like, it means nothing to me. The movie stuff is not real. But I'm wondering, is there a phrase for describing this, what would you call it, a bias? Movie bias?
Maybe.
It's like
the belief that things are fictionalized when in real life they're actually much more boring.
The closest thing what you're saying is making me think of is the idea that after the movie The Truman Show came out, people started saying, I feel like that's happening to me. And that's sort of, it's not an actual term,
Truman
but
effect?
the Truman effect is sort of what I feel like you're describing in some respects, because people feel like they consume so much media that in some ways they start transplanting the concepts or the bounds of that reality into their own life.
But the thing about the Truman effect is that it's actually just a renaming of gang stalking. Do you guys know what gang stalking is? There's people who suffer from psychological delusions. One of them, I don't know what it's called, but they believe they're being stalked and followed by everybody. And so they'll be walking down the street and someone will look at them and they'll go, ha ha! And they'll be like, you're following me. And then they'll look at a car and they'll see someone in the car, look at them. It's like, well, yeah, when you look at someone's face, they'll look at you, be like, why are they looking at me? But then the person who's delusional thinks that everyone is stalking them.
Yeah, the paranoia.
You take that already in existence, create the Truman Show, then people who are predisposed to have these kind of gang stalking delusions now think, I'm in the Truman Show. They're all filming me. That explains
I think
it.
that term could be cinephasm. If you're a belief that reality is like a movie.
Is that what it's called? Or did you make that up?
I just made that up. That's the cine being from cinema, and then phasm meaning, what is it? It's Greek for meaning like light and extreme belief or something. Phasma, apparition, phantom. So it's like this belief, this like false belief in the reality of film.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like it's a bias or something. Like it's a fiction, a script bias or something where people believe that real life will play out like movies, or that the movie scenario is the more likely scenario, when really the most boring scenario tends to be like the most routine, I guess.
Yeah, one of least resistance.
It's in line with Occam's razor. The simple solution tends to be the correct one. And so, or how about when you hear hooves, think horses, not zebras.
Mm-hmm.
but people will get in there and change it. So like water flowing down a mountain, it'll take the path of least resistance. So too does reality. But people will get in there and create little blocks and dams of like, well, I'm the one in control, so you have to be here on this day. And all of a sudden, least resistance has a new definition when people tweak the system.
Well, let's jump to this story. Speaking of people who are suffering serious delusions, Rachel Maddow worries Trump will be president for life if he wins in 2024. MSNBC host notes that in the current political movement, far-right politics is coinciding with far-right violence. It's a lie. They just have to say it. I have to wonder. There are a lot of evil people out there. Like, what's going on in, how do you pronounce it? Xinjiang, and with the Uyghur Muslim camps. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's evil stuff, right? The forced abortions, like nightmarishly evil. Rachel Maddow is a kind of evil, but I wouldn't put her anywhere near like genocide level, but pretty evil in that she goes on her show and says things that any sane person, even a liberal or leftist, would know is just crackpot psychotic nonsense. But she says it anyway. Because she gets a lot of money
the
for
ratings. I mean, she was the highest rated caster on MSNBC. And so she made a lot of money off of it. She got huge ratings, and she continues to parrot these crazy, ludicrous narratives. Like, yeah, Donald Trump, and she was one of the biggest proponents of the whole Russia hoax. Mm-hmm. And, and she continues to parrot that to this day, even though it's been debunked over and over again.
Because she has a monetary incentive to do that, right? There's no reason. If she started being like, guys, I've changed my mind, not the case, her ratings would probably collapse. All of the attention that her show gets would go away. In some cases, the way our media works, it incentivizes people to get more and more crazy. I mean, we see this.
YouTube is the same.
Exactly. Yeah. We see it in independent media all the time, that people will start saying more outlandish things. I mean, let's think of like the clickbaity thumbnails that people put out. They might need to because it drives people to their channel. On the other hand, like, are they always super accurate? No. I think with Rachel Maddow, what's interesting is there is an actual hysteria and fear underneath it all. She really does seem to be personally panicked about Trump's influence on the country. You don't think so?
Absolutely not. If you watch it, it looks like she's just saying garble nonsense.
Oh, good.
Really?
You have the clip. Yeah. We should pull it up.
I'll show you a bit of it.
This morning, heading into what we knew would be two big important court hearings on these Trump cases today, in federal court in Georgia and federal court in D.C. Probably what he was planning, probably what he was thinking. But per the New York Times, it does seem sort of significant that that's what he's now telling people. That's what he's telling people he's going to do. He will solve his jumble of legal problems by winning the election. And, whatever you think about that, that's how he's thinking about that.
Okay.
And what does that say about the election for all of the rest of us, right? It means in his own mind and those of his campaign and his supporters, presumably, these are the stakes. And again, whatever you think about that as a legal strategy for Trump, that is how he is thinking about the election.
How many times was she going to say the same thing over and over again just there? You notice she said, I think 4 times. Trump's strategy to get rid of his legal problems is to win the election. Think about that. What is that? What do you think that means?
It doesn't.
What do you think it means? No. The point is, Rachel Maddow has no passion and is saying literally nothing. She is pattering. She is speaking words with no meaning to extend time. The things she is saying exist only in, I gotta get through this hour, and then I'm going to have lunch with the girls.
I would love to get her off script and interview her.
She's not on script. She's probably just
but she's got that MSNBC script up top.
And his aides and his campaign about the stakes of the election.
This is their script, poorly
The election
written.
means one of two things, if this is the way he's going to approach it.
She keeps saying that over and over again.
He loses the election.
But I think it's because she can't go into specifics because she doesn't actually understand. And if she brought out any actual facts,
he
she would
doesn't go to prison.
herself.
And is that for life that he gets to be president? Will we keep having more elections or no? If every election is a new opportunity for him to go to prison, do you think he allows us to have new elections?
What does that mean?
This is total fear-mongering. Nobody believes it. There is no avenue for Donald Trump to possibly be able to suspend elections. What's he going to do? Suspend the Constitution to make it so that he's president for life? Nobody actually believes that.
So she's clearly, look, in that minute, she said, I think maybe like 15 different words. Mm-hmm. She explained nothing. And she said over and over and over again, what you think about what Trump thinks. That means Trump thinks this. And no matter what you think, that means Trump means this, which means in the election, Trump will think this. And he's going to tell his supporters this. And that means whatever you think, Trump thinks this. It's like,
Did she explain at all how he would do that? Did she explain that at all?
Well, of course not.
No, he's
She
just
doesn't
going to do it with
believe
the power
anything.
of evilness.
Yeah.
She doesn't believe anything she's saying. She's not actually saying anything. And this is the challenge. You know, I think about, you got the World Economic Forum, you will own nothing and you'll be happy. And you got these video clips where parents are like, my baby is, you know, going to get the medication. We're going to sterilize the kid and stuff like that. And I'm just like, at a certain point, what do you do when you're watching lemmings, I mean this figuratively, when you're watching them walk off a cliff? Now, I know Disney forced them off a cliff with a broom.
Yeah.
I'm making a point.
Yeah, lemmings don't actually walk off cliffs like that.
Yeah, the Disney producers shoved them off with brooms, like, get out of here, we're going to film it and make money off you.
But
That's
when-
actually a good example of
Yes,
what this
that's
is.
People are mindlessly marching towards their own demise. Do you step in? I
Well,
mean,
we've been trying.
You are. We are. This show is doing that. But not everyone's going to listen. You just can't grab them by the throat and pull them back, or you'll be considered the aggressor. You've got to let them go.
Yeah, so we're watching them march toward the cliff, and we're going, stop, please don't do it. And they're like, you're so crazy. Ah.
Well, the problem, they're going off the ratings cliff, though. I mean, like, come on, who watches MSNBC at this point?
I mean,
So
we can find out.
It's on
in
at
a lot of
hotels and
airports.
things.
Yeah.
hotels and
I
airports.
saw Chuck Todd over the weekend, and this is pretty funny. I was listening to Chuck Todd, and he was like, the thing about Trump's election lies are, and I was like, dude, election claims. Call them claims. Don't make the assumption that they're like, it was just the purport that it was a lie without, it was...
It's to make sure that you already know to be on guard to whatever Trump is saying.
Yeah, it was a tribalist, like a tribalist flag being raised. Like if you're part of our group, we all know, wink, wink, that it's a lie anyway. So
And a claim might imply that there's some credit to them, which they cannot allow, right? There can't be any reason why he would be right in any way.
yeah, it was a neutral. Would have been a neutral statement, was to say talk about his claims
Well,
as opposed to.
Rachel got 3.9 million viewers, the number one show across all of television, including broadcast.
Wow.
Beating out Fox News.
Yeah, I mean, of course they beat up Fox News. They fired Tucker. I mean, what do you
Sure,
expect?
but this is right. Yeah, no one else. But this is the point. This is it. Rachel Maddow is going to say next thing President Trump will be president for life. Next thing she's going to come out and she's going to start. She's got to increase it. Now she's going to come out and be like, well, Trump's going to start rounding people up, and then she's going to talk about trains, and then she's going to talk about whatever it is that's going to terrify people and convince them they have to watch, glued to it like some kind of disgusting drug.
I think she doesn't realize the power she has as an individual. The people that are afraid of Donald Trump, that are afraid of some external power, don't realize the amount of power they have within their own community to prevent and buffer from that stuff.
See, but I think she wants it, right? Like if she is the most popular show on television right now, and she gets to scare you, and so you come back to listen to her every day to say, Rachel, what should I know? You're telling me all these awful things. You're really insightful. You know, she knows she has influence. She knows she has power. I think that's why she can present in a monologue like this that references nothing. She repeats the same phrase over and over again. She doesn't cite any facts. She's not like, because in this law would allow him to do whatever. She's just speculating, knowing that people will be afraid of it.
She's
and then return to
banking
her for
on
more
confirmation
information.
bias. That's it. That's all she's doing, and she's good at it.
Meaning that she's assuming that her audience already believes her premise?
Absolutely, they do. I mean, in my opinion, that is the reason that she is pulling 3-point-something million viewers on her episodes. I believe she only does like 2 or 3 episodes a week at this point. She somehow gets away with that because she does have a lot of power. Nobody watches any other show on MSNBC.
She's retired, man.
Yeah.
She checked out a long time ago. I mean, come on. You go to any person. How old is she? Someone want to look up how old she is?
Yeah, I'll look it up.
Was she like her mid to late 40s?
I would think she might even be older than that.
Really?
She's been around for a long time.
Born in 73, so that would make her
50?
48. Currently 48.
73?
Born on April 1st. Happy April Fool's Day, Rachel.
Wait.
One day before me.
She was born in 1973?
Yeah, April 1st, 1973.
So she'd be 50.
Yeah.
She says she's 48. No,
So she'd be 50.
50.
no, 48. She'll be...
What
maybe
year
she's
is it?
49.
I mean, 49,
Oh,
yeah,
49,
because
okay.
her birth is in April.
Okay.
So
she'll
she
be
was
50
1 in
next
1974.
No, she'd still be 50.
So this probably looks out of date. She says she's
Either
currently
way.
48.
Yeah, she'd be 50.
She's up there.
What are you looking at? Look,
She turned...
Sorry for all
Pull up her
the
Wikipedia.
50-plus-year-olds out there.
That is really weird.
Anyway, she's retired, man. Come
I'm
on.
saying 48 years old on this, and she was born April 1st, 1973.
It's like the Taylor
Wait, what?
Lorenz
What are you
thing.
looking at?
Let's just...
Yeah, that
If
would
she's-
make her 50.
No,
for
50.
sure.
Yeah, Wikipedia's pulling it right.
50.
Wow.
I Googled Rachel
interesting.
Maddow age. She's 50.
This is
April 1st,
why
1973.
The first
internet-
thing that comes up is that
Dude,
she's
you
younger.
AI
Probably
is
got
gonna
your
feed
info
us-
off of MSNBC. I guess.
Chat GPT is going to feed us such trash for the next 2
I
decades.
know. knew.
But what was the argument? We knew when her birth year was. It was like, no, this point, like, bro, she's 50.
It was like, turn right now.
Is
and
the
it was
year
like,
wrong?
The ocean's right there. I'm like, turn right.
Okay, anyway, the point is she's retired.
Yeah, she's 50.
She's 50, and they went to her and said, what are you doing? And she goes, I just want to go to sleep. I'm just so tired and sad and pathetic. And they're like, we'll give you $5 million to do a show once a week. I guess, fine. That's what she's doing. That's why she's pattering on the show. That's why she's going like, Donald Trump wants to be president. That means he'll run for president. And no matter what you think about that, he's going to tell his supporters he's running for president. So you might not want to be president, but he's going to run. And you know what that means? He'll tell his supporters he's running. No matter what it is you think. That's literally what she did. Man, this lady's off her rocker.
Wild. Also, she's getting paid millions of dollars to do this. Like, what a sweet gig, guys. I don't know what to tell you.
What are they going to do? Fire her? I mean, if MSNBC doesn't have a network without Rachel Maddow, I mean,
She
what
is
else
their,
is
like,
anybody
top
I
performer.
couldn't name another MSNBC host, to be honest with you. I mean,
Chris Matthews.
I mean, I can see it right here. Chris
Wait, is
Matthews.
he-
No, he got fired actually because he said something sexist or
Right.
So he's
Chris
gone.
Hayes.
Chris Hayes.
Is he also?
Oh, okay.
Chris Hayes. But Chuck Todd,
He's on there,
not.
right? Chuck Todd's NBC. isn't he?
NBC.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Plus.
MSNBC is Chris Hayes. All of them is Chris Hayes.
All right.
You got one.
Good point.
I have the
who else do we
feeling.
have?
Oh, I don't know.
Brian Williams, right?
Because he got fired for being
lying.
Yeah, lying.
Yeah.
He said he was in an Apache helicopter or whatever, being
Yeah,
shot
so-
by sniper fire.
So we were all surprised to learn that a guy on cable TV news was lying to us, and then they fired him.
and then MSNBC was like, he's our guy.
That's right. That's right. Pick him
Sounds
up, pick him
great.
up.
I wonder if Rachel goes home at night and is like, I hate this job. I do not want to even think about politics, but she's getting paid $15 million, a year? Or what is this? What her salary
it's
is?
probably something.
You're like, just go repeat the
do
crap.
Well,
Days a week.
I think you're overlooking like the social position.
20
she's
million.
in.
Charge $20 million a
She's
year.
getting paid $20 million to barely say anything on
$24
television.
million to go on TV and go blah, 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 blah.
Right. She doesn't have to memorize any hard information. I can't even believe that there's no way there's a script there. But also, everyone wants to invite her to things and have her places. Like, there is a social currency that she knows she has. I think she wouldn't give up this job, even though she's not passionate about it.
If she started a new show that was less political, I think she'd still have a lot of followers.
I think you can't really step away from that prestige. Like, I think there is sort of something to being the female. I don't personally agree with it, but I think she has been told, you're this high-powered female political commentator. You have your own show. It would be harder for her to transition to like something like Oprah did, where she just like goes around interviewing people.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
there's an ego part to it. Not that she should feel ashamed of it, but
What happened to Hillary Clinton had her show? Did that do well? Is it canceled? Because I think
got
that's
a
a good. Yeah, she got her own show on a major streaming platform where she's going to interview other high-profile women and stuff, and they're going to paint and stuff. But what I'm wondering is that would be a good kind of
gonna
like thing to
paint.
check to see how well Maddow would do on her own.
What's up with all these left-wing people painting nowadays? I mean, is it? There's just so much money in painting.
George Bush too.
Well, I guess George Bush. Well, I mean, he's not too right at this point. I don't know, but you see Hunter Biden. He's now painting again. He was doing it before, but he's now painting again and paying $15,600 per month in rent. But he can't pay child support for the granddaughter that
they just
Joe
decided
Biden
they
wants.
acknowledged.
Yeah, no, they just decided to acknowledge. Yep.
He's not paying child support for that kid?
No, he is.
Well, they're going to court over it though because he doesn't want to. So
No, it got settled.
Oh, fine.
He's paying child support into it.
Do you know how much?
I don't, because it's not disclosed. The big thing was that he had a child support agreement. He was trying to get out of it because he stopped making as much money, he said. So he's like, it should be readjusted, which is something people do all the time. And then also on top of that, he started arguing. The child's mother said, well, my child should get to use the Biden last name because it's a prominent last name in the U.S. It could potentially open doors for her. And he was fighting really hard to stop that. It's kind of a
I
cool
believe
situation.
Joe Biden kept saying, well, I have 6 grandchildren. And, in reality, he had 7. And he just refused to acknowledge the 7th grandchild.
Until a month ago,
Yeah, a
and
month
then they
ago.
released a statement with people being like, "We want what's best for all of our grandchildren, including this one."
Let's jump to this story from
Maybe, yeah.
Timcast.com. 12-year-old kicked out of Colorado classroom over Gadsden flag patch. The student returned to school Tuesday saying he would sit in to protest the school's decision. This story has been going viral all day. Don't tread on me on his backpack. In a viral video, you can actually hear the teacher. In this tweet from Connor Boyack, he says, meet 12-year-old Jaden, who was kicked out of class yesterday in Colorado Springs for having a Gadsden flag patch, which the school claims has origins with slavery. The school's director said via email that the patch was disruptive to the classroom environment. Oh man, there's so much to talk about here. Not only are they saying that the Gadsden flag was a symbol associated with slavery, they came out later saying actually it was about the guns and stuff he had on his bag. And so now they're trying to change what actually went down because there is what appears to be a secret recording of what was going on. It seems that this family was well aware of what was going to happen. Now, of course, if he had a communist symbol on his back, they wouldn't say anything. No. A lot of people have said if he had a pride flag, they'd cheer him on. Well, duh. But if he had like an actual communist Soviet Union flag on his bag, they would say nothing. Despite the 100+ million people that were killed by the Soviet Union. And if you want to count everybody, including, communist China, it's fairly substantive. I just want to say for the Gadsden flag, we got one hanging in the garage, and it's basically a symbol of independence.
Well, I mean, we're talking about a teacher, right? Somebody that should know this stuff. She said that there were origins for, the Civil War and slavery and stuff. This has actually had the Gadsden flag originated in the Revolutionary War. This isn't anything. This shouldn't be a shock to anybody, but we keep going back and back and back, and we're gonna relate anything to slavery. Like I worked in real estate before, and we had to change the name from master bedroom to primary bedroom or something like that. It's like we keep more and more keeps getting sucked into this slavery talk.
Yeah.
And even if it has nothing to do with it, it's crazy.
Yeah, Darth Vader was a slave to the Emperor. He called him master plenty of times. Neither of them were black dudes. It doesn't matter. Like slavery exists on Earth. Deal with it.
Even today it exists.
I don't think this is glorifying slavery. This is like, get off my back. Let me be an independent human.
This kid is what? He's 12, so he's in like the 4th grade, 7th grade, maybe. I don't know. It probably was not disruptive to any of his classmates. It's disruptive to the teacher who decided they didn't like it, who then pulled him out of class and said, you can't be here. We have to bring your mom in. I love the secret video because the mom is clearly sticking her cell phone into her stroller. She's got like another small child there. I think this is such a strange example of adults having actual hysteria rather than really monitoring what's going on in the classroom at all. They're once again putting their will and their political agenda above everything else.
But question though, is it cool for a 12-year-old, 6th grade, I assume, 6th grade, to go into school with guns, a shirt with guns on it that says revolution? Is that cool?
I mean, different schools have different rules about that type of stuff, like whether you can like have a shirt with a gun on it or whatever else. The thing is, he didn't. They have this recorded video. It's the Gadsden flag, and then they're like, "We've changed our mind. Actually, this was the complaint." It doesn't come up in the recorded meeting.
Remember when the kid chewed the Pop-Tart into the shape of a gun, and he got in trouble for it?
Yeah.
Yeah. These schools are psychotic.
Kids used to get in trouble for if you're like playing like cops and robbers on the playground. And
not when I was a kid.
I think
Back when I was a kid, we had little cap guns, and you get the plastic orange cap gun with the little metal, and then you get the roll of
the red tape thing.
And then we also had the little caps, which were plastic, like a plastic. What would you call it?
One of those
moon
wheels.
clip. Yep. And then you'd put it in and close it, and it would go pop, 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 pop. We had those. Now what? A kid chews a Pop-Tart and he gets kicked out of school. A kid's got a gas. It's going to keep happening.
They've had these
things,
these cap guns since the 50s?
Yeah, they didn't have orange tips on them for a long time.
They didn't have exactly.
But let's be real. High schools used to have shooting clubs. I mean, it's all going in one direction.
Right.
Then you see these. There's a video I just watched of a guy in where was he? I think it was in California. He's walking up to his doorstep with his keys to enter his home, and you see guys in masks follow him up and then just start beating the crap out of him and rob him. And it's just like, man, that stuff could have happened at any point in history, but now we're living in very dense urban areas where these guys know they can be armed because they don't care about the law and you can't. And this is where we're at. Schools, I wonder if it's a natural tendency of densely packed urban environments that result in this, because we had the story from Solzhenitsyn about from the Gulag Archipelago that a guy was being threatened by a knife, so he fought the guy and then stabbed the attacker, got arrested, and then when he was on trial, he was like, "The guy was going to kill me. What should I have done?" And they're like, "You should have run." It's like so when you have a criminal who's armed and going to kill you, well, that's crime. But if it's you're the good citizen. You should know better. When I look at these schools and how they all move in the same direction, history is bad. I wonder if it's the average person is docile, ignorant, uninterested in worldly affairs and just goes through the motions. And which means, unless you, as a politically thinking individual, someone with passions and opinions, if you are not actively pushing back, defending, say, the Gadsden flag, it all gets erased. And we are moving now into that era where there are videos of people being victimized and the victims get arrested. Like, that guy, Daniel Penny, I think his name was, in New York. There's Perry and Penny. I don't want to confuse them. We're in that because good men did nothing, as the saying goes. And so the lazy, uninterested people take the path of least resistance. Now we see it take the shape in police departments. The cops are looking at these mass lootings and these robberies, and they're like, I can't deal with that. So what do? Nothing. But then when you are, let's say, filing a legal challenge to an election, well, the cops absolutely had no problem doing their duties to arrest Donald Trump. I saw that video when Trump was being arraigned. I don't know if arraigned. He was being arrested in Georgia, and the cops are in front of and behind him. And I'm like, these cops are trash. They are willing to do it. It is the easiest thing in the world. Hey, do you want to arrest a guy because he's got he didn't pay child support? Yeah, sounds easy. Do you want to go arrest a guy who's an armed robber who's threatening to murder people in the street right now? I ain't doing that. No. And that's where we end up.
And they could. Okay, because, you look at Georgia, Fulton County especially. You have this DA, this woke DA, this George Soros-funded DA that is, going after Donald Trump. And it's not even just Donald Trump, it's all these other people. You had the chair of the Georgia Republican Party, which all he did was, his crime was proposing a separate set of electors, okay, just in case it was proven that I don't remember his name. It was David something. Just in case it was, there was evidence that was brought forward to, possibly challenge the election results in Georgia. And you also had Fani Willis, which I'm gonna keep with Fani Willis because she's
it's
a
Fani?
big fan. It's apparently Fani. I'm gonna continue with Fani. And she came out and she actually posted after the 2020 election saying that, hey, why is it taking so long for these results to come out? Why are we doing ballot dumps at 3:00 in the morning? Even she was asking those questions. Is she going to prosecute herself? What's going on?
I don't think what she did was illegal. You're allowed to question elections.
Right. What she's doing to Trump is unconstitutional.
Yeah. Well, she's a hypocrite. That's my point.
But this is where we are. All of these things are tied together. Symbols of this nation's history are being banned in schools. Right? They're since the 1619 Project, since before that, they have been lying about what this country is based on, what it's about, and why we have these symbols. And you know what happens? I saw this tweet from, I don't know who this person is, some woman, saying, I'm so sorry I offended you. Apparently, she had gone on Facebook and said puberty blockers are a trick by pharmaceutical companies to harm children, blah, blah. And then it resulted in a big backlash, and she went, I'm so sorry, please. Oh, you spineless piece of garbage. Come on. This is the problem. How can you know that injustice is happening and evil is rising and just be like, I better apologize and get on my knees for evil? It's just disgusting.
They're afraid of getting canceled.
I know,
That's it.
but they're letting evil win for their own selfish, pathetic reasons.
What was Martin Luther King's quote? I think is all that evil needs to succeed is for good men to do nothing.
That wasn't. That was
Einstein. Some really historically famous.
Well, that was the quote
figure.
I was referencing.
Yeah,
and
meaning that you don't have to do good to make the world good. You just need to stop evil when you see it, or speak, or call it out, so that society stops it.
The left used to be about this too.
Edmund Burke.
Who was it? John Lewis that said, get into good trouble. Right? What happened to that? We're talking about the right. Calling things out as they should be. Such as, if you see election fraud, how about, call it out? Yeah, it's really weird when you have ballots coming in at, by truckloads at 3:00 in the morning. Okay? Why not question that? Is that not allowed to be investigated at this point? You're going to end up in jail? Because all this is now is an intimidation tactic. And people are going to be afraid to say anything in the future. And that seems to be the goal.
Yeah, I think it is the goal. Because I don't think it's about morality or values. Like you're saying, if there's election fraud, you should call it out because that's wrong and that hurts the system, blah, 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 blah. And they're saying that's true if it benefits our team. Because everything comes down to these two parties that have to control power and ultimately,
What about
So,
all these
so it
people?
might actually be John Stuart Mill. They say Reuters says Edmund Burke is a false attribution because no one really knows exactly. But of course, the saying is the only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. And John Stuart Mill allegedly has a quote where he said, where is it at? Bad men need nothing more to compass their ends than that good men should look on and do nothing. There you go.
Amen.
And that's what bothers me about everything. These people who would watch the world burn so they can sit among the ashes. It's like, well, I'd prefer to try and put the fire out. I think it's a Sun Tzu quote, I could be wrong, that evil men will burn down their nation, their country, so that they can rule over the ashes. And weak men will watch their nation burn so they can sit among the ashes. For what purpose would you, I ask you, citizen, for what purpose do you have to sit among the ashes of fallen ruins? You're not going to survive.
I know, that's the thing.
You'll experience no joy.
Like the Phoenix must burn and to be born again. I'm like, dude, the Phoenix is a fantasy arc character. You don't burn your city down to make it better. That makes no sense.
Well, for the extremists, it does. They're not burning down their city. They're burning down your city. Right. Your city is in opposition to their world. So
I guess if you can like sneak into a foreign country that you hate and want to see destroyed and then act like you're a protester of that country and get to burn their own cities.
Like the CIA.
Yeah, mad tech.
Tim, who is running this country? I want your opinion on that. Who is running this country at this point? Because, I mean, Joe Biden is clearly not running this country. He's not.
Nobody's running it.
Nobody's running. So we're...
No, I think there's various and disparate factions of powerful individuals who are fighting over power. I think some people are more responsible for the destruction than others. But I think ultimately you do have Republicans. You've got some that are anti-establishment, some that are uniparty, neocon establishment. You, of course, have powerful Democrats. Their interests align in certain areas. You have the World Economic Forum and their interests. You have NATO. No one is controlling everything in this nation. There are just different power bases that influence different sectors of the country, some being more powerful than other. The most powerful bloc, of course, is the woke establishment. These are the people that want war in Ukraine, support it, and also, want to sterilize kids. It's a weird amalgam of people. They are not the most powerful, nor are they in control of everything. That's exemplified by the fact that Bud Light actually is taking a massive hit, and businesses can go under if we don't buy their products. If we were actually in a totally centralized totalitarian state, then the woke establishment would be able to snap their fingers, and there's no question the beer for Bud Light is bought, and anyone who spoke up would be gulagged. We're not there yet. So it still is various power centers in this country. Joe Biden does have the reins to one portion of it, but I can't say for sure. I do think it's fair to say the woke establishment controls the most, and this includes neocons, neolibs, and the left. But I think they're actually losing control, which is why they're engaging in acts of desperate, unconstitutional indictments, etc. They're going to lose the cultural front. So the only thing they can do is swing the hammer that they're holding for the time being.
Who do you think's running the show?
So I'm not exactly sure, and it's really hard to say. I think that there are, somebody like, and I know we're getting into really specific things here, but like Jake Sullivan, National Security Advisor for Joe Biden. He was National Security Advisor, I believe, for Barack Obama as well. There are a lot of Obama holdovers.
There's a ton, and they keep bringing them in.
Yeah.
White House special counsel, every single one of them has been affiliated with the Obama administration.
Right. And so you're like, okay, how did they get to that point? Okay, how much involvement does Barack Obama have in the current administration? Because, all the policies seem to be, echoing Obama policies as well. And, I can't help but think that this man, are we actually looking at a third Obama term?
Jake Sullivan, you mentioned, as far as I know, he's the guy that Hillary sent most of the emails to that were classified of her 30,000 emails. So many of them were CC'd to Jake. She just sent him Jake. Take it, Jake. I don't know.
He also led the Afghanistan withdrawal as well. So, the guy is a disaster, but he is pretty much running. You have Lloyd Austin, right? Which is supposedly running the Defense Department. In reality, it's Jake Sullivan. He's the one calling the shots, and it's scary because he was a disaster during the Obama administration. He's a disaster now. So
I'm glad we're calling out his name in his face because this guy up to this point hasn't.
People need to know.
Yes, Jake Sullivan. No. What are you doing, Jake?
I think that's the thing everyone talked about when Biden was campaigning, that how much of this would just be the third Obama term, and did we want that, right? But Biden consistently proves that his administration is headless, right? He's not a strong leader himself. I think there's obvious signs of tension within the administration, and from what I can tell, like I just said, the third White House counsel is stepping down to be replaced with yet another person who was in the Obama administration. So they are falling back on an administration that hasn't been in power, and also not creating any leadership among themselves. So we are not seeing solutions. We're just seeing a scramble to try and go back to what they might refer to as the good old days with no true effectiveness.
Right. It's like a rule by committee in the executive branch, which is where you're not supposed to have a committee. You're supposed to have a president. And the committee is Congress. You got the legislative branch for that. So we don't need a committee just pushing Biden's hands around.
They know that they have full autonomy at this point because Joe Biden's not hiring and firing anybody. You know, they have full autonomy. They can do whatever they want to do. So that is the scariest part.
Let's talk about this story from the Daily Caller. House GOP will launch probe into Biden administration's response to Maui fires. I would also just add they probably need a response into the Hawaiian government's response to the fires, as well as the Lahaina and Maui governmental responses to the fires, because a lot of questions there. They said the House Oversight and Accountability Committee will conduct an inquiry into the Biden administration's response to the fires, which began on August 8th and completely devastated the town of Lahaina. The federal response to the calamity has drawn intense scrutiny from locals and the media, who have slammed Joe Biden's response. So what did he give them? Look at this. People flicking him off, screaming at him, cussing at him. Here he comes after 13 days. What did he do? He gave everyone $700. Is that it?
Yeah. So he gave him. Originally, they said that they were going to give everybody that was displaced, both physically and economically, they were going to get $700 and more. That was the original promise to the people of Maui, because you got to keep in mind that 70 to 80% of Maui's economy is tourism, and originally the government, both the state and federal government, said, don't come to Maui. Maui is closed. Okay, so all these people lost their jobs. I'm over there, staying in a hotel in one of the biggest tourist areas in Hawaii, and there's nobody there. It's empty. It's quiet. So all these people, they've all been laid off, and then FEMA walks it back and says, well, we're no longer giving you money. Once the press pressure went away, they started walking it back. And so, what people there want to know is why? Why does the Biden administration have to be forced to do anything? And $700 in Hawaii, everything in Hawaii is extremely expensive. That's like a half week's pay for most of these people. And a lot of these people have lost everything. And, they work 2 and 3 jobs, so they've lost 2 out of those 3 jobs. It's so infuriating to so many people there, but they don't want to speak out because they're afraid.
Afraid of what?
They're afraid of repercussions, because I'm going to be honest with you, my experiences with the Hawaiian government, with the Maui government, they're one of the most authoritarian governments in the United States. Okay, I had a run-in with the mayor of Maui, and I posted that video. It went pretty viral, got like 15 million views or something like that, where I started pressing him, and he had his police force there put me in a headlock so that I could not continue to ask him questions. All the other media were allowed to ask him questions. I was not allowed to, because I was asking tough questions. They do not want to be held accountable. They are afraid of looking bad, because these politicians, these are their goals here. It's to get elected, stay elected, and get elected to higher office.
What were you asking him?
I was asking him what was going on. They know, okay, they found 115 cadavers at this point. They know how many of them are children. And I had I had experts that were coming to me and telling me, like pathologists, that were saying it's very easy to identify. If you find a corpse, you can identify whether or not that was a child. You can go back 2,000 years and be able to identify whether or not that corpse was a child. They're hiding that number because they're protecting their own butts. That's all they're doing.
There's 1 to 2,000 people, quote, missing.
Right.
But it's been like 2 weeks. I mean, is not the assumption just to say those people are dead?
So I went there. I was there for 13 days. Okay, that number went from 110. It's now at 115.
The death rate.
Yes, and now we're talking. There's still, between 800. It depends on what list you're looking at. 800 to 1,000 plus people that are missing. Okay, where are they? When are we going to declare? Other people dead. I mean, it's
yeah, exactly. That's in intense heat. Bodies melt.
Yeah,
this is.
There'd be skeletons.
I worked at Ground Zero.
Well, I guess the bones.
No, the bones melt. I was working at Ground Zero, and the firemen would come in at 9/11. I worked there after the cleanup, and the firemen would come in. It was so hot under the pile, molten steel flowing, and they'd be like, "Yo, they think we're gonna find bodies. They find wet Twizzlery substance.
Right.
That's all that's left over.
Sure.
And if there's a fireman jacket, it was a fireman because that's heat resistant, and they'll wrap it up in a flag. But that's it. That's all you find, and the rest of it's liquefying and going into the East River.
Sure. And it might be, but here's the thing that they're doing. They are hiding information that they have because they're waiting for it to go away. They want the media to go away because the media can only stay there for so long, right? It's very expensive to stay in Hawaii.
So if it turns out that 2,000 people burned to death because government didn't give the water, like I've heard, and you confirmed it before the show, but tell me about it, that people within the Hawaiian government, the Maui government, withheld the water from the fire department so that they could not put the fire out.
Right, because their whole thing out there. Look, the Hawaiian government, the Maui government, they're very liberal. Okay, it's one of the most liberal states in the U.S. You think California is liberal? Hawaii is 2 steps to the left from there. I mean, it's crazy. And so we're talking about one of the reasons that the fire got so bad is because they don't do any sort of fire management out there. It's because they want it to be natural, just as the land, as it was before. That's the government. You have all these people lobbying the government for that reason. We're not talking residents. We're talking environmental groups that have a lot of power out there. And so they're diverting water away from these towns. And so you have people that were more than capable, even firefighters that lived in Lahaina that were unable to put the fires out in their own houses because there was no water. There wasn't enough water that was being sent to Lahaina. And so you have firefighters that are on scene that can't do anything at all. They can't put out the fires. They have no ability.
I've heard this rumor going around. A lot of people talking about it, that they set up a roadblock to get out.
Yes.
And people were turned around to go back into the fires, but some people just broke through the barricade and ignored it.
Those are the ones that survived.
Is that true?
That is 100% true.
Wow.
That is why you see the videos on Front Street. That is the main road. And, just being in Lahaina for, 10 days I was on the ground there, there's one road in, one road out. Okay? If they're blocking that road, you're not going anywhere.
Why were they blocking it?
Because there were downed power lines. Okay? But here's the thing. You have Hawaiian Electric coming out now. Maui County is suing Hawaiian Electric, saying that their power lines sparked the fire. Okay? Whether or not that's true is, a different argument. But when the roads were blocked, the Maui County government was saying that the power lines were electrified. Okay? That's why they couldn't let anybody through. That's their claim. Now, when Hawaii Electric is saying, oh, yeah, no, they weren't electrified at that point, there's no reason that these people couldn't have gone through. So, but the people that did break through the barricades and drove over those lines, they didn't have any sort of effect from it. The effect that they had was that they survived. The other people burned in an inferno. And,
wow.
So it sounds like the government's making a false claim that the power lines were active?
So there's a barricade. What was the barricade? Do you know?
They had cops that were blocking the road.
But at a certain point, the fire got so bad, those cops had to flee too, right?
Yeah, well, but the people that were near the end of the barricade, or, closest to the end of that road, they were able to, it was blocked all the way through the fire, actually. Right. But they were far enough away, the cops were far enough away that, the people that were closer to the front of the line, they ended up surviving the fire. It was the people that, because the line was so long, that it's a 2-lane road going all the way back. The people that were near the center of town.
Are there buildings on both sides of the road, or is there access to water?
So all the roads were blocked. Let's make that clear. But the Front Street, which is the main road there in Lahaina, that one was blocked as well. That is the main road.
I'm saying to the right.
Had water on the. So if you're driving out of the town, you had water on the left side.
So people, I'm assuming, got out of their cars and jumped into the water.
Some of them were bailing, but some of them that were bailing into the water also died because it was too late. The fire was already engulfing these buildings. You had a lot of wind, and that fire was crossing into the water.
A lot of people don't realize how hot fire is. No joke. Obviously, you've had a campfire and you felt the heat. Stand in front of a building fire, and the fire can extend 100+ feet, and you're like, whoa, and you're backing up.
Right.
When I was, I tell the story about when I was in Ferguson, driving down the road, seriously, like 100 feet away from a burning building, and inside the car with the windows up, it felt like my face was in front of a campfire, and I was like, damn, like we got to move. It's too hot. It's crazy.
And this, we're talking 80-mile-an-hour winds that are
blowing the heat into you.
Yep.
People, you're saying people burned to death in their car waiting to get out, and held at a stop by the police, and they burned to death while they were waiting?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly what happened, and that's why they don't want to talk about this. That is why they're trying to brush this all under the rug, because there were so many people that died in their cars. There are children that were found in like car seats in the car, very young children that were burned to death. They found the cadavers. And, you know, that's infuriating to people, especially residents that were there. Like, their children were killed because they were burned to death because the government is totally inept on every single level.
We do have a super chat. Jack Fox is saying bones don't melt or burn. After a person is cremated, they're put into a, what it says? They're put into a machine that pulverizes them into dust.
Wow.
I don't know. Someone want to fact check this?
They soften. Man,
look it up.
This reminds me of Uvalde, where the cops wouldn't let the people go in to save their own kids, and they're like, "No, you can't. It's too dangerous. We're gonna not go in at all." What in the fuck? Look, you at some point get out of the way.
Bones don't burn during cremation, is what I'm seeing.
Wow, look at
that. And these people, I'm telling you right now. So one of the biggest things that happened here, you know, first of all, blocking the roads. I'm sorry, if I'm a cop and I see an inferno that is about to come incinerate hundreds of people that are trying to drive down a road, I'm sorry, I don't care what the commander is saying. I'm moving out of the way.
Well, but these cops are evil.
These cops are evil.
They thought there was an electrified power lines. They actually were probably given bad information by their
banality
commanders.
of evil.
I don't care. You drive over a live power line slow enough, you're fine. I'm sorry. They're gonna survive that more than they're gonna survive an inferno. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm going to let you do what you want to do. If you want to drive around in the grass, people were able to do that. Drive around in the grass. I'm not going to stop you. And, you know, a lot of these cops, they are now still simping for the county government. And it's crazy. It's like, do these people, they have no shame? What is it? At some point, you have to, not a single Maui cop has come out and spoken out against what happened.
They probably have immense guilt that they murdered those people on the road.
Absolutely. Yeah. And people need to be in jail for this. People absolutely need to be in jail. Well, especially the Maui Emergency Management Administrator. Okay. Because this is the guy that decided that he wasn't going to turn on any of the sirens. He was going to, he said that if we turned on the sirens and people were going to come out of their houses and they were going to run uphill into the fire. I'm sorry, but I don't believe that the people of Lahaina were stupid enough to walk out of their houses and run into a burning inferno. I'm sorry, they weren't going to do it.
Why have the sirens at all if not to warn about fire, right?
If you go on Hawaii, the Hawaiian government's website, you will see that it says the sirens are multi-purpose. They're supposed to be used for dam breaks, terrorist attacks, wildfires, tsunamis, all of this stuff. I mean, there's a laundry list of things. So basically what they did, he got up there and lied. Okay. So if anything, he's guilty of negligent homicide. Okay. Because it was his decision that ended up killing all of these people, all of these elderly folks and children, the adults that lived in the town, like the parents, because I said they worked 2 and 3 jobs. They're outside of the town. They work in the tourism industry, so they're way outside of the town. They're in other parts of Maui, and, you know, it's, you know, probably 45 minutes away. That's where a lot of them work. So they couldn't get back there in time, especially because the roads were blocked. I mean, it's infuriating, but again, they're trying to brush it under the rug.
What time did the fire start?
So it was about mid-afternoon, and so that's why a lot of these parents were at work. They couldn't get home to their children, and schools were closed.
Why?
Because the power was out, which goes back against Maui County government's argument them saying that, oh, well, the fire started because and the lines were live when the fire started.
Well, that could be why the power was out, right?
Well, because they shut the power down.
Lines went down, started a fire.
Yeah.
They shut the power down.
So 3 o'clock in the morning the night before is when the power,
Or
when the
not
line
night
started
before,
going
but
down.
early that morning.
Yes. So we're talking, there was a 10-hour difference, and then one of the brush fires started about 1 p.m. Okay. So we're talking 10 hours here. And and then they said that 1 p.m. brush fire was 100% contained. They sent the firefighters to another part of Maui, to Kula, which is probably about 45 minutes away, to fight a fire out there. So there were no firefighters, for the most part, except for off-duty ones that were in Lahaina at that point. That 100% contained fire ended up spreading ferociously throughout the town. There was no water. There were no firefighters. What are you going to do about it? So,
my guess is I would have went into the ocean. I mean, it's not like I did see a video of people that went into the ocean and survived,
But
and
then
it was like 10 hours in the standing
not
in the
all
water.
of them survived.
But you're in
either.
smoke too.
Yep.
So the smoke inhalation could still get you. I mean, that was the crazy thing, watching these videos of people standing in the water and they are in a cloud of smoke.
So it's possible that some of the missing people went out
Older
to sea.
people,
Went out to
yes,
sea and
there are a
drowned.
lot of people that have died
Washed away.
in the water. Yeah, because you pass out, you're in the water, you pass out from smoke inhalation, you're going to drown because you're going to fall down, you're in the water.
And then you get washed away and people don't find you.
They will not find you. They're trying. They are actually down there. There is a big search effort in the water still to this day. From the day that I left, I was there 3 days ago. I'm going back this week. And they have a huge search effort in the water, but the death count still hasn't gone up because they're not finding any bodies in there. They know people died in the water.
This is the problem with chicken ranch government, chicken nanny state governing or chicken ranch governing, that the police say, we know what's best for you. We won't inform you about what's going on. Shut up and do as you're told. And then you die.
Which Hawaii has had very intensely, probably always, but definitely in the last couple of years with COVID. They had some of the most intense COVID restrictions, and therefore had tested how compliant their population was.
Right.
I'm curious, I don't know if you can speak to this, but what's the reaction from the islands around it? I mean, like, do the other communities kind of parrot the same lines as, Lahaina did the best they could, or are they critical of how Lahaina managed the fires?
So it's actually it's a very polarizing issue out there. Most people, even a lot of the Democrat-leaning people that I've spoken with out there, are like, this was a catastrophic failure of government. The people that they voted for, they have totally lost faith in these people. These people got very comfortable. The mayor, especially, and the governor of Hawaii, both very liberal Democrats. They got very comfortable out there. They thought, because it's a very blue state. And even the people that are typically their voter base are now questioning whether or not that's a good decision, because they've gotten way too authoritarian, and there's no sign of that going back. They are putting so much pressure on the people to try to maintain that power, maintain that grip on the narrative, that a lot of people are waking up. And that's not due to the mainstream media. That's due to independent journalists that are calling them out.
I keep thinking about how the cops stopped people on the road where they burned to death alive. Obviously, they were alive if they died. But that's the most... I mean, it's not like Soviet lockdown, because they weren't throwing them in gas chambers, but like they held them in a gas chamber.
Yeah.
That's the banality of evil.
Yeah.
Right? The idea that the individual cops didn't think they were doing anything wrong. They thought they were doing something good, but in fact, they are responsible for the death of all these people. If the cops were not there, some people may have run over power lines. I mean, who knows? But a lot more people would have just driven out of this disaster zone and survived.
Well, I'm sorry. Like, I cover disasters. That's what I do. Okay, I've covered tornadoes. I've covered hurricanes. You can drive over live power lines. Okay, just don't speed over it.
Why?
Why can you drive over?
Or why is faster worse?
Well, because I mean, you risk shooting that line up into the frame of your vehicle, and you don't want to do that, a live line. But I mean, you have rubber tires, and so you drive over it slowly. You're fine. I mean, hell, you could even go over. I drive a Jeep 30 miles an hour over the line. You're not going to toss it up. I mean, you have to be going really fast to toss that line up. It's not a good idea unless you have to drive over it. Okay, but in this case, I refuse to believe that these cops are stupid. okay, and that they saw this fire coming, and I can't for the life of me, even you can watch the videos. Why would you not let the people through? You see the videos of them continuing to block these people, even seeing the inferno incinerating the buildings right in front of the street that they're blocking. I can't fathom it.
Evil.
Yeah.
Evil is not just a mustache twirling villain. It is the dopey henchman being like, I don't know, he told me to do it.
Yes, stupid leadership. I don't normally think of it as evil, but it doesn't mean they're not going to get ousted.
But I don't mean stupid leadership. Obviously, there are people here who are in charge who are more likely to be evil. I'm saying those cops watching fires speed up upon people and then being like, nope, you stay. That's evil.
You take an oath to protect and serve. Okay? You don't take an oath to your commander.
That's apparently that's how it is these days.
Do you know who the chief of police is?
Oh, it's the guy. It's the same guy as what you call it?
The Las Vegas shooting.
Right.
Yep.
What do you mean? It's the same guy.
Same guy.
The same police chief
Yeah.
of Maui is the same guy in Vegas.
Yeah.
What, he moved jurisdictions?
Police
Yeah, he
chiefs get
did.
recruited to like other major
You know
cities.
what's funny is there's like a big conspiracy theory about it, and I'm kind of just like, maybe this guy's really, really bad at his job, which is why it's following. Like, you know, whenever if you what do they say? If you smell crap, check your boot. They use the actual, you know, they swear when they say it, but we'll keep it family friendly. So this guy is just like really bad at his job.
Is he the guy that ordered the cops to blockade the road?
He probably is. I don't know.
He has the ultimate say. But so here's the other part. I was unable to find the chief of police the entire time. I was able to find the mayor one time, which is why I hit him as hard as I did. Because
Here, let's pull this up. Let's pull this up. So casino.org for some reason has a story. Maui's top cop now in spotlight previously led Las Vegas Strip Command for LVMPD. Well, so there you go. How this guy is failing up is beyond me, but congratulations to him for constantly getting a job and then, you know, dropping the ball, to say the very least.
What happened?
What a track record.
You said it was during that Vegas shooting that he was the chief of police?
he led the Las
Commander
Vegas
of the
Strip.
policing district that includes the Las Vegas Strip, during which he played a key role in the response to the October 1st, 2017 mass shooting.
And then is this like, you said it was an upgrade. I mean, obviously he lives in Maui. That's pretty
Well,
nice.
right. He's
Chief
like,
of
I'm
police,
getting out of here. I'm going to go get a job somewhere else. And then this happens. And it's like, man, this guy should be fired.
Right. No, he shouldn't have a job. I mean, and in all
He
of a
needs to
sudden,
change career paths. I feel like this isn't working out for him.
You're right. Yeah. So, but this is not a story that you're seeing in the mainstream media all the time. And why? Okay, why are they not wanting to hold these people accountable? Because this stuff is going to continue to happen unless they're held accountable.
We were talking about this a little bit before the show. Do you feel like there's any feeling among mainstream media that you're not supposed to criticize like FEMA, people who rush into disasters, people who are like the emergency response? They're sort of protecting them in some way. They feel obligated to say nothing because they're not supposed to criticize people who are like the hero, so to speak.
Yeah, so I first off, I'll start by saying that FEMA is a disaster in and of themselves. They've always been. I mean, you look back as far as Katrina, and that's just how they are. They're not good at what they do. I mean, they have a multi-billion-dollar budget, but are still incapable of all the disasters that I've ever covered. Mayfield, Kentucky tornadoes wiped out the entire town. Okay, Eastern Kentucky flooding wiped out entire towns there too. They come in, they make big promises, and then they disappear once the media attention goes away. It's the same thing here. It's the same thing in East Palestine. They actually didn't even go to East Palestine until we forced them to go. Okay, because you know these people have been inundated by toxic gases. Their soil's contaminated. Their water's contaminated, and finally FEMA comes in. What's happening now? Not really much. FEMA kind of backed out of the entire situation, and they're doing the same thing here. They're already starting to back out, as I said earlier, where they made all these promises about all this money for people that were economically displaced, and now they're like, well, yeah, we're not really going to do that. This is an executive branch agency. Okay, they are under the command of the President of the United States, so he has ultimate jurisdiction over FEMA. Why is he not doing more? Why is the FEMA administrator like seemingly totally inept? And funny enough, the FEMA administrator right now, her name is Deanna something. Don't remember her exact name. She was in charge of New York City's COVID response as well, which was obviously, as we know, New York City had one of the most disastrous COVID responses in the country.
This is Deanne Criswell.
Deanne Criswell. Yep, she is currently the FEMA administrator. So, I mean, it's like, what is it? Why are we not taking this organization more seriously? We're talking about people's lives and livelihoods.
Is it that FEMA is only as effective as the president?
So, I mean, like I said, the president has a lot of power over FEMA. Why isn't he doing more? I'm sorry, but people's lives and livelihoods, American citizens, okay, the people that my first goal as president of the United States would be to, protect my citizens, right? And make sure that when you have this is no fault of their own, okay? The people of Lahaina did not do this to themselves, okay? So, in my opinion, the federal government should be able to, I mean, we're sending just like a couple of weeks ago, $23 billion more to Ukraine? How come we're sending, a total of, to the Lahaina residents, under $2 million in relief aid to them?
What would FEMA do? Like, I did a little Hurricane Sandy. I did some cleanup in Staten Island, and it was like flooding. So we brought water, blankets. What else would FEMA do? There's mold. Everything was molding, so they had to clear out all the moldy stuff. But like, what more? Is it just only so much that they can do, and then they're like, we were tapped out, sorry for the false hope? Or is it that they're just not doing what they can do? Like, what could they do to help these people in Lahaina?
Well, first off, they give false hope every single time. Every single time they get involved in anything, it's false hope. Okay, people see FEMA coming in, they're like, yay, FEMA. FEMA is, I mean, they're not underfunded. They have plenty of money. But, so right now, August 25th was the deadline for housing. Okay, so if you were staying with a friend, or if you were displaced by FEMA, okay, and you were staying with a friend, or not displaced by FEMA, displaced by the fire, okay, in Lahaina, you had until August 25th to do something about it, okay? If you're staying with a friend or something, and, you didn't react you have a lot on your plate. If everything everything you have is, been incinerated, they're not helping you at this point. They're not giving you anything. They're not giving you the $700. They're not paying for your hotel room. They're not doing anything. Why? Why is it we're the only people that are setting up food banks, giving people clothing, collecting goods, water, all of that? It's all being done by the community and nonprofit organizations. Every single person from Lahaina that I spoke with said the same thing. The Red Cross is useless. FEMA is useless. They don't even try. Okay, they have to go to individual community organizations.
That's always how it is.
Yeah, which is sad. What do we pay taxes for?
Well, modern monetary theory suggests that to control for inflation, they need to take money out of the economy, because as they just mass print it and use it for wars at their own discretion,
right,
then that leads to inflation problems in the underlying economy. So they'll use taxes to pull that money back out.
Yep.
There you go.
You said that they were going to give everybody $700 and then they pulled that back, or did they actually give everybody the $700?
Well, so they gave some people $700. It was supposed to give people that were economically displaced as well. People that lost, like I said, a lot of people there have 2 and 3 jobs, because it's 80 to 90% tourism is the economy out there. Those people that were economically displaced, that were fired, that were laid off, whatever, they didn't get anything at this point. So they are struggling to get by. And so some people, very few people, ended up getting that $700 that added up to under $2 million. $1.9 million is what they ended up paying out.
Hawaii, a lot of people want to go to Hawaii. Is now a good time to go? Because
absolutely. Right now Maui is open. Lahaina is closed.
So
okay.
Really?
Go to
awesome?
Maui.
You were just there. Like, is it amazing?
Well, so to be honest with you, I didn't do any. I didn't see a beach. I didn't do any of that, because
you saw a lot of burned buildings.
I saw a lot of burnt buildings. That's what I was doing. But where I was staying was typically, because it was the cheapest area in on Maui at this point, was the tourist area, because there is nobody there. This is where all these people worked in these massive resorts and stuff. I stayed in I'm not going to say it because I'm going to go back there, but a very small motel. And there is a beach. It was beachfront. I never stepped foot in the sand or anything, but there's nobody there. Nobody at the beach. Nobody in the tourist area. These people need, in order to recover, and any of them will tell you that at this point, they need tourism back. So the fact that the government is saying, don't come to Maui, is ridiculous.
Yeah, I'd like to see maybe a federal subsidization of tickets to Hawaii from the mainland. To get people to go fly there. That would be cool.
So I will just say, Tim paid more to get me here than I paid to go to Hawaii.
Oh, so it's cheap. So how much is it to get to Hawaii and back? Roughly average.
750 round trip from Kentucky.
Oh man.
From
Which is
Kentucky.
crazy.
Wow.
That is a long. That's 10 hours worth of flying.
And you're saying that by going on your Hawaii vacation, you're actually helping the victims of this.
You're doing a public service by going on a vacation to Hawaii.
Ordering
So
a
this
big
is
You're
how
doing
you
your civic duty by going on vacation
Exactly.
to Hawaii.
So I'm
kinda
telling
wanna
you
go to
guys,
Hawaii.
come to Hawaii. Do it. I mean, that's exactly what needs to happen right now, because if FEMA is not helping them, the state government's not helping them. The only people that can help them right now are people that are traveling out there.
We should go do a show in Hawaii.
I'm totally down with that.
That's hot.
It's not so easy to just pull off at the last minute.
Go to disaster zones and
Pack
do a
up the
show.
mics and go.
That's literally
Spike
what
the
I do
normal
is
economy.
last minute travel. So come on, guys.
Not
Dude,
to
so
mention
many
that
people would go there if we did it. Now's not the
There's
time
no
to
way
set up a live
studio
show.
in Hawaii.
It would just be like me and you in a van,
basically.
basically. Yeah, it'd be pretty rough.
How do you get a van there?
You rent one. So
No, I'm
that's
saying
another
if
thing.
you want to build a studio, you're
Yeah, it'd be like us with GoPros.
It's not hard
basically.
to it's hard to take the studio. You can't really travel light.
But sometimes,
I mean,
a show with a couple of GoPros and
It's
some,
not
some
hard
lighting.
to take like 2 cameras and hook them up to a live stream. That's not that difficult. And they have like individual podcasting boxes, so it can be done off a
I've
laptop.
tweeted about this, okay? You go out to Hawaii and you look at, they have these fields that are next to the airport. There are thousands of rental cars right now that are just parked in the field. I rented a pickup truck out there for $35 a day. Full-size pickup truck. I mean, yeah, vans and everything, because there's nobody there.
Is it because people in general fled the island because of the fires?
So, yeah, because that's into the, there weren't, it's not like the entire island is on fire. Maui is a
No, but
quite a
I'm saying,
large
but
island.
a lot of people, just anyone on the island, were like, we better get out of here. It's a disaster.
But that's because that's what the government told them to do.
Right.
Oh, so residents of the island that were not in Lahaina
yes.
have also bounced?
Yeah, like
Temporarily,
all the, yeah, because exactly that's what the federal and state governments are telling them to do is get out. Maui's closed now.
Dude,
so
a private
Maui-
visit to Maui right now is like the hottest thing on earth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
That'd be so awesome.
I'm just going to give you an example. It takes you at least 2.5 hours to get from one side of Maui to the other. It's a big island.
There's a big volcano on it too.
I went to the top of it. It's beautiful. There's nobody there. It's a national park. Nobody there.
Like if you're ever gonna go, now's the time.
Now's the time.
So when you go back, what are you going to focus on?
So the thing that I am the most worried about here in Maui is, or if you say on Maui, it's on Maui. Well, first off, I'll just say the people there are they love their home. They love their home. That is one of the things that is one of the most polarizing issues out there right now, is because you have these conspiracy theories talking about, oh yeah, well, they're trying to take our land. They absolutely are trying to take the land. Lahaina is one of the most beautiful towns that I've ever been in, and I travel across the world to cover stories. Lahaina is oceanfront. It's the clearest water I've ever seen, and all these developers have been trying to get this land for decades. But a lot of these families have been there for generations. So they're very apprehensive. They don't want to sell it. You can give them $10 million, and they don't care. They might be working 2 or 3 jobs, but they still don't want to sell their land. And the saddest part about it is now they're thinking, because one of the first things the governor came out and said, Josh Green, he came out and said, oh, yeah, well, now the state's going to buy all the land up, via eminent domain. So
Right,
they're going
they're
to
gonna
force
block
them.
Private buyers.
Yep. And they're going to give them to developers.
I want to jump to this story. This is from WNG.org. Washington jury convicts 5 pro-lifers. I find this story absolutely fascinating. They say the jury on Tuesday found the 5 activists guilty of violating the Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances Act. Authorities immediately took the pro-lifers into custody. They now await their sentencing, and their lawyers are planning an appeal. The trial, which began with a jury selection on August 9th, centered on the participation in a 2020 sit-in at a facility in D.C., where they suspected an abortionist of performing illegal late-term abortions. Each of the activists faces the possibility of up to 11 years in prison, 3 years of supervised release, and as much as $350,000 in fines. We've talked about the escalating conflict, culture war, cold culture war, whatever you want to call it. And one of the examples that we often give is Colorado and I think Oklahoma, right?
Yeah.
They border each other. In one state, abortion is completely illegal, and in another state, it is completely unrestricted, which opens the door to some very serious troubles. If, say, a woman flees the state where it's overtly illegal in every respect into Colorado for the abortion, which is likely happening now as we speak. And then there is a challenge from another individual who says, no, stop her. She can't do this. It's illegal. What happens? Does Oklahoma send police to stop the woman from aborting and killing the baby because they view it as murder, or do they not view it as murder? What I find interesting with this story about these activists is that if you take the perspective that abortion is murder and that this doctor may have been performing late-term abortions, you have a story of 5 individuals who took no direct physical action to stop an active murder from taking place, simply sat in front of a building where a murder was taking place, and will now be going to prison for trying to stop that murder. Again, that's if you take that perspective. That, I gotta say, is very interesting to me because it says to me, I don't actually think conservatives think it's murder. And it was actually there. I can't remember who was making the argument. It was actually a pro-life Christian conservative who said, clearly there is something different about it in that even pro-life activists do not behave similarly overwhelmingly. There may be some individuals who would view it completely as the same thing. But for the most part, the political conservatives that say it is murder do not act like it is. So I'm wondering if, for one, this is a crazy story, and I'm interested in what you guys think about it. I'm also interested in where we go from here considering this.
I honestly think that I think that the whole, I don't want to dogpile on people that are so pro-life that they think a 1-day-old inceptive child is the same holistically as a 17-year-old boy. So yeah, destroying a fertilized egg at 1 day and killing a 17-year-old in cold blood are very, very different. And I feel like it's LARPing to act like it's a murder.
Why is it different?
Because it has no cognizant sentience as far as we know.
So a person who's like in a coma, you can kill?
No, that has nothing to do with it. I'm talking about a 1-day-old inceptive egg sac or whatever it is, and then an adult human. They're just different. So I find like this obsession,
but
and you
how?
see it here, like
explain it to us. I don't understand what you're trying to say.
Well, it doesn't know English. It probably can't do math. I don't think it can even speak. It doesn't have.
Okay, but are those
doesn't even have ears. I don't think it has auditory abilities.
But I don't think.
Does a 6-month-old have that ability?
I'd have to pull out the thing and look at it to examine to see what all it's developed at that point at 6 months. But usually by 24 weeks, I think you've pretty much become a human.
So you're taking the Vosh approach in that babies aren't actually alive until some point after they're already born.
No, it's living tissue, but not.
It's
they're not
2 years.
24 weeks. 24 weeks.
You're saying during pregnancy, and you're saying after birth.
I'm sorry, say again.
You're saying after conception.
24 weeks after conception.
You guys are talking
Just
about.
making sure we're not talking about a 2-year-old.
No, 6 months, 6 months, 4 months. I don't know, something like that. Well, but at some point it starts to become human, and it's still living. I'd never say it's not alive, but whether or not it's a murder depends on whether or not it's a human being.
Well, the law.
It's alive,
the
but
law
it's
in
not
many,
a murder.
Yeah, correct.
So intentionally killing a human life is not murder.
No, it's not a human. I don't think it's a human until 6 weeks or whatever. It's 24
What
weeks.
is it then?
What
months.
is it?
And a blast. What's it called? A zygote.
Are you going to say clump of cells? Is that where we're going to go?
All of the above.
We're going to go the left wing talking.
It's pretty vague,
is describing a human, though. All those terms to describe the stages of pregnancy are all describing what eventually is a human. I was going to say becomes a human, but they're all ways to describe a human
From
being.
Ian's perspective.
Dogs are zygotes too at some point. So
Right,
zygote is like an
Okay.
undeveloped animal.
So like here's I mean, I don't want to get into the argument over abortion. I'm more concerned with the political ramifications of these people being arrested and their perspective on it. But I accept your perspective, Ian. I'm not sure I understand what you're trying to say. I don't think you've accurately articulated it in a way that I or many people could understand.
When people say that abortion is murder, I think it is kind of like a LARP. If people were in that building getting killed in cold blood, those people would not be arrested.
And I
They'd
agree.
be heroes.
This is the point I actually made. These people believe that a murder, they claim a murder is taking place, so they sit down and hold hands. I don't think they actually believe that. I agree with you. I do think that babies are alive in the womb and all that. I do think, at 1 day of conception, there is a human life there that would be killed in an abortion. But there's clearly something different about it in that these activists, and almost every single activist, their position is, well, another murder happened today. Let's write it down. I'm when you see a video of a store clerk being robbed and the guy starts mercilessly beating the dude with the stick, these people are cheering and celebrating. Yeah, when it comes to this, they're like, let's sit down in front of the building. Now, I'm not stupid. I understand. There is a political climate here, and these people are trying to do the nonviolent civil disobedience, which is the appropriate way to protest what our society deems, in many respects, acceptable. Well, half does not. They're taking the nonviolent approach to a conflicted issue in this country, which is, in my opinion, nonviolent civil disobedience is the correct way to address these things, but they're going to prison for it. If you can't sit down in front of a building and link arms,
Were they trespassing?
then what do you do?
Yeah, I was going to say, is this a state that has one of the barrier
Yes, the
laws?
FACE Act. It's DC.
So they're saying that they're within the violation? Like what were...
Yes. They were in DC, and DC has a law saying you can't block access to a clinic.
So are we getting to the point, because we saw Jen Psaki, I don't know if you saw this the other day, saying that, well, the whole thing about, Democrats being a fan of late-term abortions is misleading. Are they starting to back away from this now? Because how we even got to the point where there are a lot of Democrats, there are a lot of people on the left that are okay with all the way up to the point of, a week before birth, okay with terminating a pregnancy. So are we starting to back away from that now?
I think a lot of people equate supporting something with happiness. I think there's a lot of people that I've talked to that are pro-abortion. They're not happy about it. They support it. They want it to be legal, but they don't get joy out of it. I think that's the more normal approach when it comes to being pro-choice. But I think it's still there. I don't see anything backing away from it. I think because Roe v. Wade's kind of in the rear view mirror right now. We've talked about it less as a country, but it's going to come back. It always does.
Right now in this country, Roe v. Wade has been overturned. Some states have decided to outright ban abortion. Some states have decided to make it unrestricted, limitless. The Democrats, of course, lie endlessly. Like I forgot who mentioned it. Jen Psaki says nobody wants this, but all of these states, you have I should say all of you, but many of these states are enacting these laws. You may say, people have gotten arrested for, nonviolent civil disobedience in front of these clinics before, but we're now at a point where the conflict may be coming to greater tension with, like I mentioned, Colorado and Oklahoma bordering each other, and one saying absolutely not, and one saying under any circumstances. With stories like this, pro-lifers are being told there is no nonviolent civil disobedience path towards resisting what they view as murder. My fear is what happens after that, because the last thing we want is anything to escalate. But the government is going to put these people in prison for sitting down in front of a building.
Mm-hmm.
How long?
Up to 11 years, I think it is.
And then $350,000 fine too. So
up to,
Yep.
the courts may say, a year or something.
Yeah,
they may get
come
probation. But either way, we've got these people blocking highways. They get arrested for it. You got these activists that do this nonviolent civil disobedience all the time. You had far leftists storm one of the Senate buildings, storm the Capitol building previously for like Roe v. Wade stuff, banging on the Supreme Court doors. No problem. You got far leftists trying to burn down the White House, burning down a guard post in front of the White House, setting fire to St. John's Church. What did we get from that? Nothing. I'm like, this is getting scary. That's all I can say.
There's got to be a way with abortion to have this conversation that is going to heal the system, because instead of being like screaming, no, yes, no, that doesn't work. Instead of being like murder, 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 when it's not legally a murder, don't scream that it is, because it's not legally one.
Hold on. There are some states where it is legally murder right now.
Well, what happens if you...
So in a state where it's not a legal murder, and so there's no point in screaming murder, that's not the way.
Well,
but also,
hold
take
on.
an 8-month-old baby in the womb.
Stop right there. Stop right there. This is the conflict I'm actually talking about. If you live in Oklahoma, it is codified that it is illegal to perform an abortion. So the people in that state have stated by their own democratic processes, you cannot kill this baby. If you live in that state, and there are many people who live in many states not have enacted these restrictions or total bans, they are saying it's murder, and they have made it completely illegal. Other states have said the inverse. It is not murder, and it is unrestricted. So you can't just say it's not a murder now, because some states are saying it effectively is.
That's an interesting way to look at killing, but you're right.
But where does this conflict go then? If you have, this is why I'm saying this is a federal question. This is a question under the 14th Amendment. I guess it depends on your definition of a naturally born citizen, because if they're not born, then the 14th Amendment may not actually protect them. But the 14th Amendment actually says something to the effect of human rights not being denied. This is where it gets interesting.
Yeah, because when you have an 8-month-old baby and you look at it in the eyes and it's looking at you, it's a human. I've had friends that were born premature, but they could have been aborted in certain states legally. Right. And I'm like, but once you know like that, if you can know, maybe you would be less likely to want to do it.
The issue right now that I bring up is if Oklahoma says it's murder and it's illegal, and Colorado says, nope, it's not, and you can kill the baby, this something is broken in this country. You cannot have a nation where certain jurisdictions determine that human DNA and matter is not worthy of life rights, and one state saying they are. This is a recipe for exactly what we saw back in 1861. Some states saying you do not have human rights, while other states you said you do have human rights. This is an impossibility. They cannot. These two positions cannot coexist.
So there are 30 states where it is considered double homicide if you kill a pregnant woman. 15 of those states, abortion is fully legal up to.
So it is murder.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
it is murder.
I don't understand. How do you have that double standard? That's what I don't
Yeah,
understand.
I've never understood that.
No.
Are you saying 100% sure it's considered a murder, or is it just an illegal killing of some sort, like a man?
Homicide.
Homicide.
Homicide means
Double
human killing
homicide.
human.
Murder's a federal crime. Is
Homicide means human killing human.
Yeah.
If you are correct in that, if there's a woman who's pregnant and you're drunk and you crash into them, they say you killed two people. There's two homicides. It's a double homicide. They are saying a human killed a human, and that unborn baby was a human.
it could be looked at as like as a manslaughter? Not necessarily a murder. Murder's like a federal crime.
Well,
so I
even
don't
if
know
it's murder, you're still, or even if it's manslaughter, you're still slaughtering a human. That's the whole point of manslaughter.
I agree.
No. I'm fairly certain in the states you're referring to, if a deranged serial killer takes a machete and goes to a pregnant woman and butchers her, killing both the baby and the woman, it is a double murder.
Well,
But
even
if
if you
she
just shoot the
kills-
woman, it's like, because it's...
Yeah, if the baby dies as a
the
result
baby is
of an
going to
attack.
die as a result. Yeah.
But like if the woman kills her own baby in a state where it's illegal, is that considered a murder at this point? I don't know.
That's the broken thing, right? Like a woman...
Nobody's talking about it.
Well, so my point is just this. Activists engaging in nonviolent civil disobedience face prison in D.C.
Yeah, what is this FACE Act?
It's been around for a while. You can't block clinics. But I'm telling you, like JFK said, those who make peaceful revolution impossible make violent revolution inevitable.
But were they really blocking the clinic, or were they just sitting there?
Sitting there is blocking.
Not really. Not if people can walk by you.
Or there's other entrances. Well, I don't know. Look, my point was that these two concepts cannot coexist in one nation. A government cannot say to a state, you are allowed to determine who is worthy of human rights. Sorry, that's a constitutional question. Otherwise, Colorado can say, we hereby decree Republicans don't have First Amendment rights because we don't consider them human.
Dude, when they're going
And the 1964 Civil Rights Act excludes communists. So you can have a red state say, if you're a communist, you don't get constitutional rights. No, you can't do that.
Yeah, we need a new human rights commission of some sort, because you need to control and own your own copyright of your own visage, your own face and name and likeness, because companies cannot take that from you. That is you. And we also need to recognize that these little babies are alive and they're probably human. And if we can neural net these things when they're like at 3 months old, and you put the neural net in the womb and you see all of a sudden they can learn language, they can communicate with you when they're at 2 months, we'll realize a lot ahead of time, like that they're human. And
like Mozart.
But I need the science to back it up. I can't just assume that a little zygote is a human.
What else would it become?
Yeah.
Well,
you never know.
We got to go to Super Chats. So if you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button?
Chimera, by the way.
Subscribe to this channel. Join us over at timcast.com. Go to timcast.com, click join us to become a member, and check out the members only uncensored show, which will be coming up at just about 10 p.m. You don't want to miss it. And let's read what y'all have to say. All right. I'm not your buddy guy says, did you hear about the worm in a woman's brain? I did. I scrolled past a story about it. Did anybody know what that was about?
No.
Some woman had like a crazy big worm in her brain or something like that.
Oh my God.
Well, it happens, right? Raymond G. Stanley Jr. says, Tim, it will never happen. Yep, not happening. Yep. This is what really bothered me. I was talking about this earlier. The question of, will they remove Donald Trump's name from the ballot unilaterally? Will a Secretary of State in some state like Michigan just say, Trump committed insurrection, his name's off the ballot? There doesn't need to be a lawsuit. They can just do it. They'll do it in October, and then there will be a lawsuit. And then in December, the Supreme Court will say, you can't. Too bad, Trump lost already. And everyone keeps saying it can't happen. Yet every single time we've brought up, they're trying to do X, someone goes, that can't happen. And then it does. We're at the point where not only did Trump get indicted, they've gone after his lawyers and and now they're investigating media personalities. So it's like, first, Trump will never get indicted. Trump won't get, remember Trump won't get impeached? Oh, I loved that one. He got impeached twice. Then they said he wouldn't be indicted. Now they're indicting his lawyers. Okay, yeah. Do not be surprised. I'm not saying it will happen. I'm saying there's a strong probability, and it is entirely possible they do it. For people to be like, nah, that can't happen. Oh, it absolutely can.
This is the evil men. If good men do nothing, if you just assume it can't happen, you're one of the good men doing nothing. Do not assume that. Be vigilant.
Well, they all act like Trump can't possibly get elected again. He's unelectable or whatever. Why are they going to these great lengths to, remove him from the ballot in these states? I mean, that is such a huge leap. When is the last time this happened to a major candidate? Has it ever happened before?
I don't think so. Not that I know.
So why do they feel like they have to do this? Why are they setting new precedents? I mean,
because they have to ensure that he will not become the president again.
They're terrified.
Exactly.
My guess is because he wouldn't play ball with the Swiss banks, and they're afraid that he won't oversee a smooth transition into a totalitarian world government where the United States is the lucky left arm. He's like, no, we are the head, the brain, the force, the reckoning.
Yep. All right, we got one from Zana 520 says, because this was brought up last night, and as one of them, bronies started as fans of a cartoon that wasn't just for girls and was created by an old Cartoon Network veteran. Things went downhill from there, but Gen 3 was unique. I have no idea what that means. I guess, are you implying that the original show was more like, I don't know, Ed, Ed and Eddie or something, or Powerpuff Girls or whatever? There were or SpongeBob, jokes in there that adults understood or something?
I don't know. I think My Little Ponies was always for girls, even if it was a Cartoon Network production. But if you
have you seen all the show?
I haven't.
Then there you go.
I can't say I'm completely informed, and I don't want the bronies to feel isolated from IRL.
Yeah.
But I sort of don't believe of everything you're saying.
SpongeBob spawned a bunch of memes that adults use because often in these kids shows, humor is intended for adults because they want the adults to watch it with their kids.
They don't want them to go insane based on watching
they want
day.
adults to watch it. And the kids will laugh at the funny shapes and the squirrel who's got too many acorns or whatever. And, but yay, Patrick, we saved the city and the city's burning down. That's like a meme about Democrats all the time, Nobody calls them SpongeBobbies. Unless they do. I don't know. Maybe some people are. I guess no one's going around dressed up like SpongeBob, though. So not as part of a culture or something.
Yeah, it didn't spawn the subsect that
Sponge /
awkward costume.
Tyler Bratton says, breaking, the Tennessee House and Senate have adjourned the special session without passing any gun control or red flag laws. Huge win. I mean, I guess.
With the government did not screw us. Huge win.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. I guess technically, because there's doing it so often.
It's like we need government for emergencies on the nose, right away, but then we need them to back off and let us live our lives and run ourselves.
How come this was never a problem before? I mean, my dad telling me that, I used to have a gun in my pickup truck when I went to high school, things like that, a shotgun mounted to the back. This is you never saw school shootings. What changed? That's what I wanted.
Reagan shut down the mental institutions in the 80s?
Well, look, I'm not going to say I'm a big Reagan superfan, so let's...
All right, we got.
I don't know if that's the reason.
Guardsman Norheim says, "Do not send your garbage to my front door, please. Enough of you come up in the summer. Sincerely, Alaska resident. We're coming. We're coming for your oil.
Fertilize your soil."
Yeah, we're gonna take the oil from Alaska. Let's grab some more super chats. Stephen Wolf says, "Imposter President Joe Biden and Herbert the pervert from Family Guy are the same person. Pictures created from AI are absolutely crazy." You guys know Herbert, right?
Oh, yeah.
You guys talks like this.
Oh, hey, Chris.
Oh, you got
hairy legs. Get in my basement.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I got hairy legs. What do we got? Glucose Donor says, Tim, the concept of movie bias in criminal justice is called the NCIS effect, where people think investigations are solved in a day. I love that.
That's funny.
All of these shows like NCIS and Law & Order, they solve the crime. Well, no, to be fair, Law & Order actually has the dates and it shows months in between. But to NCIS, it's like one day they catch the murderer. It's just like, you got it, guys.
Just every week they have a case and it's over.
And they have that 50-year-old woman who dresses like she's in her 20s. You know what I'm talking about? She got the pigtails and she wears a skirt.
She's like the forensic scientist.
But she's like 50.
Is she really?
Yeah, something like that.
That's so funny.
I don't know. You can look it up.
I like when they enhance stuff that's 2 pixels and they're just enhance and they zoom in and they got it to 4K.
Is it Abby Scuto?
Is that her name?
Shuto, I think. Is
Abby Shuto?
I don't know, from NCIS. I don't know what her name is.
She's like the goth girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do we got? YYK says, if Trump is removed from the ballot, could some states refuse to certify their election? Yes. Because the legislations could refuse to certify their elections for a lot of different reasons.
Are they going to put him in jail?
If what?
Are they going to put him in jail? They refuse to certify the election?
Are they going to put who in jail?
No, I mean, we're talking about, look down in Georgia. You even question
right.
the legitimacy of the
Yeah, but
election.
this is different. We're talking about what Democrats are willing to do versus what Republicans are willing to do. So will they refuse to certify their elections? If you get a state like Michigan and somehow Trump wins, then yeah, they won't do it. But Republicans, they'll be like, oh, I guess you win again, Democrats. All right, Irrational says, first time super chat. I live near the Colorado Springs school. I ordered 100 little Gadsden stickers and plan to submit them for donations to the kids, force them to double down or agree with Governor Polis' tweet. Interesting. Agamemnon's Gym Bag says, Cassandra, I know you're out there. Would love to see Mark Judge on the show and know what he's been up to since the Kavanaugh Dog and Pony show. Maybe Culture War is a better show for hanging out with Mark Judge. And we've reached out to him before, and we're hoping to book him, but I don't know what's going on there.
What's he
what
do?
his mission is. Mark Judge?
Yeah.
Well, he invented Beavis and Butthead.
No, that's Mike. That's Mike Judge.
Oh, Mark Judge. You're right. That is Mike Judge. Oh, I'm thinking of the wrong guy. Oh yeah, Mark Judge. I don't know who that
We
is.
should get both of them.
American author, journalist known for books about his suburban Washington, D.C. youth. This is Mark Judge.
Oh, I saw MK and Judge, and I just immediately thought Beavis and Butthead because we were trying to get Mike Judge on the show.
And we should have Mike on.
Yeah. Oh, but Mark Judge for sure. Yeah. Well, all right.
Whichever judge wants to come on.
You can tell who I'm more interested in having on the show, to be honest. I wanted to see Mike Judge. I'm like, he's talking about that guy I like. I'm a big fan. I was watching all the new Beavis and Buttheads. They're really good. Oh. Yeah.
I don't know that I've seen any of them.
There's 2 new seasons that are out. Yeah, it's great.
Wild.
It'd be so
No,
cool
I've
to
seen
see
it.
him do the voices like at the IRL table.
Yeah,
during
he
a
said
show.
he knew a guy like Beavis in school growing up.
Really?
He
And
used to like laugh in his desk.
Yeah. And then there's I love one of the new episodes they did. Beavis and Butthead are meditating, and their hippie teacher is like, clear your mind so you can reach enlightenment. And then all of a sudden their souls just lift up to to Shambhala or whatever because their minds are empty already. It's great. I love Beavis and Butthead. All right, where are we at? Anyway, yeah, sure. Mark Judge too, for sure. What do we got? By the Fireside says, Rachel does make me wonder what happens post-Trump. Will folks go back to sleep and let the deep state just regroup, change tactics, and carry on? Now, the people who are supporting Trump are not necessarily all conservatives. They're anti-establishment. And then there's the default. So the lockdowns worked because it got the normies who don't pay attention into the fray. Without a lockdown or force, these people are going to go back to, watching Barstool or something like that. No disrespect to Barstool. Like, people would prefer to watch. They get way more views. People would rather watch sports and talk about their pastimes and their hobbies than the affairs of the political class. But people like you watching this show, yeah, we're not going to vote for them. And so they know they need a way to force regular people into the fray. They can't keep doing it. It won't work. Karen Rees says, I'm for law and order, so I'm 100% Trump. Look at the BS in Maryland with Senator Jill Carter, who is blaming law enforcement and prosecutors for misunderstanding the law regarding not being able to charge JUV, charge Juve. There's a funny story out of Chicago. The mayor is suing Kia. I think he's suing Kia, saying that the robberies are the fault of the car manufacturers for not having anti-theft instead of, the city.
Oh, yeah.
What?
Her
Seattle?
outfit is the reason she got attacked in the alley. It was her outfit.
Didn't Seattle do something similar? There's a couple major cities that are saying, like, Kia, this is your fault. You made your cars too easy to break into and steal.
I kind of agree. We're not seeing this. This is like a TikTok trend to break into Kias and steal them. We're not seeing this from any other car manufacturer, and I want to know why.
It's because they have the same part. The people figured out how to break into it, posted about it online, and now people do it all the time.
Okay, but why is it their fault? Because, look, I'm just being honest with you. I mean, in Kentucky, I would have never heard about this unless it was happening in Chicago. Okay, it just doesn't happen. Okay, so get your crime under control.
Seattle sued in January. I mean, it's happening in major cities.
Seattle is a liberal hellhole. I mean, it's the same thing.
And
they're soft on crime.
Kellen is completely right. It's that it became funny. It's that it became, we don't care what the consequences are. This is a TikTok trend and I'll do it. I mean, it's the same thing. Every once in a while, these videos of people like licking ice cream and then putting the cap on and putting it back in the freezer go viral. And then for a while, some grocery stores kind of chain their doors shut or whatever. It's a lack of moral standing.
Do you guys know what ninja rocks are? No. So none of this stuff about Kias matters because there's a thing called a ninja rock, which I will not elaborate further because, it's bad enough. As soon as you talk about it, people can find out what it is. But you can effectively have this tiny little rock that you flick at a car window, and the car window will shatter instantly.
Oh, I know.
With almost no force.
Right.
So you may be familiar with those emergency tools.
You just
basically
you had to get out of your car.
It's got a seatbelt slicer and a window shatterer, because if you're underwater, the pressure is keeping everything locked. You put this little thing up to the window and click a button, and then the window just shatters.
Cops use it to,
Yep, they walk up to the car and go, and then the window just goes poof. So people figure out how to get them, and it doesn't matter if you're a key or otherwise. Like there's videos you can watch where someone just walks up with this little thing, goes like that, and then the window just goes boom.
Sounds like we need
out.
to talk to Elon about material science for 21st century windows.
Didn't you see the video where he threw the what do you throw, a cannonball or something?
It was a big steel ball. He lobbed it out the window of the Cybertruck. It's supposed to be
the Cybertruck window was bulletproof, and then he threw it and it shattered.
Yeah,
and he was like, well, that one's
one.
supposed to happen.
He hit it a few times.
Somebody got fired. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the issue they said was that it was propped up and it had some countervailing force against it or something, which isn't supposed to have.
They hit it with a sledgehammer during testing, and they cracked where the window, the bottom of the window where it sat in the car door.
Yeah.
And so that all it took was the ball to finish the job. Yeah.
Let's grab some more super chats. Madrock says, in Colorado, my son was in kindergarten and did the finger gun pew pew and was nearly expelled. They have a zero tolerance policy, so a kid with the guns on his shirt would be sent home, suspended, or expelled.
Yeah, that happened at my elementary school. Kids got in trouble for doing the finger gun thing.
We were not allowed to play with guns as kids. My dad wanted us to, and my mom didn't. So it was like a no gun policy at the house. We didn't have toy guns, none of those. We got super soakers eventually, the squirt guns, but never like the plastic toy guns. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Like I grew up not being a gun guy, which has a
we
lot
all
of
had toy
drawbacks.
guns in a bunch of different ways. Super soakers were toy guns.
Cap guns.
They have those water ball guns and those jelly guns that shoot little balls of jelly or little balls of water.
But airsoft. I mean, airsoft is a big thing growing up. I mean, it's
Paintball.
nothing.
Yeah, paintball.
Danny Engineer says, why do people keep saying Ian just started lifting? Everyone on Timcast IRL has been lifting with me for 6 years. You're a great gym buddy, Ian. Love y'all.
You're welcome.
Aha, I see. He's listening to us while he's in the gym. That's right.
You're pumped. Dude, today I just went for it. I was like, why do I have to limit myself to 1 hour a day in the gym? There are dudes that do 6. I just stay in there all day. It's either that or I play video games. I'd rather just be in there moving.
Yeah.
And eating and then building something.
What I would do on the treadmill is I'd play Hearthstone. And then seriously, I'd play a few games, and then I'd be like, "Oh man, it's like been an hour and 20 minutes
so
of me
fun.
walking on the treadmill."
And your body knows what it needs next. Like you can tell what muscle wants it to get to like homeostasis.
Waffle Sensei says, "Yes, it was Sun Tzu. That was the quote: Evil men will burn down their countries so they can rule over the ashes." Yeah, that sounds
It's working
like
for 'em.
Yeah, you know. Magic GoPro says, "I lived on Maui for 4 years. It's horribly corrupt and mismanaged. Remember the nuke alert? Also on 9/11, they found the terrorist passports intact. They did. That is a true fact.
They fell out of the airplane after it hit the tower and they landed on the ground perfectly for them to find.
That's right.
Very convenient. Now, everything else burned up.
Well, the plane that hit Pentagon vaporized instantly.
Yep.
But not the passport. Maybe it was like in the very back in the cargo and it got blown out by the wind before the vaporization happened.
That is the most ridiculous. I'm sorry. I don't want to go too deep on it. Dude, it is what a joke. Like, they found the guy. They're like, we found the villain's passport that we want to be the villain.
Wait until the uncensored space.
Trust us. Yeah,
I mean, like, did they find any other passports? Like, there's probably a lot of documents and a lot of paperwork that were strewn about when all this chaos was happening. Someone probably dropped a briefcase. I mean, come on.
But the plane went into the building and exploded in a fireball, yet Mohammed Atta's passport was on the ground.
There's nothing else left from the plane. There's not even proof that there... Yeah, I mean, like, you don't see any other portion of the plane in the Pentagon.
Have you ever looked into how they make these passports? They're remarkable. They gotta be
chain linked steel.
That's right. Yeah, it's like chainmail. All right. Let's read some more. Rolo says, "Do you think the police chief's credentials from the FBI Academy raise any alarm bells for you? It's on his LinkedIn, and the FBI Academy is invite only via nomination. Is it really? You can't be in the FBI unless someone nominates you?
You have to have a college degree. It's very important.
Yeah, and there's like a big interview process to get into the FBI, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if invite is the way to describe it, but."
All right, Papa Romano says, "Can Nick elaborate on the black fences they have set up around the burn area and the unusual police presence protecting the burn area?"
Yeah, so So this is the thing, like I said, that they're literally arresting residents that go past the barricade. I made it about 3.5 steps past before, the National Guard ended up running up really quickly, the Hawaii National Guard, to, question me, and they pulled me aside. Look, I got pulled aside by Maui police multiple times. I got pulled aside by Secret Service. Apparently I'm on a list now because my TSA pre-check no longer works after Hawaii. So very convenient. And, because I tried to cross into the zone. And this was, it's now, even now, weeks later, they are putting up this black fence around Lahaina. And so that you can't see. There was a fence before. Now they're putting the black sheeting all the way around it.
So you can't see
So that you can't even see in. And there's a no drone zone now.
Wow.
Which I have an older drone, so I'm able to put it up in the air, and so I did it the other day. But so I was able to get video. But now I don't understand it. They're not helping when it comes to the entire thought that they're hiding something. They're not even attempting to dispel that narrative. So,
Wow. Well, let's grab some more. What do we got? Rooster and the Hen says, I'm with Ian. We should have bodied Helen Keller.
Oh. Bodied?
What?
Yeah, he's basically saying that if you think babies, aren't alive unless they have some kind of comprehension ability, then Helen Keller would be disqualified in your view.
I didn't say that we should be killing deaf infants or people that are in the womb that are deaf or blind. I didn't say that.
is an infant a human?
Yeah. An infant is post-birth. No. I'm saying that the human brain hasn't developed enough to have ears yet at one day. I like Helen Keller.
So let's just read more super chats.
I'm
All right. Pony Up says, after 15 weeks, if stem cell researchers fail to abort the fetal cells they harvest from, they are bound by federal law to consider them a human being. Interesting. Well, there you go. Just Leave Me Alone says, I lived on Oahu in 96 and 97. I got my first tattoo in Lahaina. I was amazed by the banyan tree. This breaks my heart for the Hawaiian people. Murder. Wow.
I wonder what the recovery time is going to be like for the city. Years. I mean, now we're getting the idea that it's not only years that we already expected, but also the government has to allow anything to happen. And
that's the thing. Government has to allow. It depends on what you mean by recover at this point. Because they, like I said, they're going to try to take the land by eminent domain. The governor's already said that. So I don't know. I mean, what's recovery? Selling it to a developer? Having resorts built on it? So.
Matthew Garmenter says, Tim, you overstate the militancy of the pro-life movement. A more likely inflection point for intrastate conflict is parental rights LGBT issues. Intrastate or interstate? I think interstate conflict is what we're talking about. Like Florida fighting among Floridians fighting Floridians doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense. But I don't overstate the militancy of the pro-life movement. In fact, I am quite literally understating it. I'm saying they don't actually do anything. Like, they literally think there's a murder, but they'll go and sit down and just hold hands. That's my point. All right. Leon says, did you see the Pope's side with the woke churches today? Oof.
No.
I went to the eye doctor today. Had to get a contact lens prescription. You got to do it every couple of years, right?
Did they puff your eye?
They did.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
Nice.
they blast it. So my prescription has not changed in 2 years, and my eyes are healthy, and we're all great. And the reason I bring it up is that when I was sitting in the office waiting to pay, they had a DEI poster on the wall, and it was the weirdest thing that this eye doctor insisted on informing me of their sexual preference. That was like a big picture talking about like what they were into. It was like, I was just really confused by it. This poster was like diversity, equity, inclusion, and what it means. And it was like diversity is when you try to figure out if everyone is welcome at the party. Inclusivity is making sure they can get into the party. And, like equity is making sure everyone's dancing. And then above it, it was like gay, lesbian, bisexual things like on a flower. And I'm just not convinced it's relevant to my eye doctor appointment, whether or not you, sir, enjoy the presence of men or women. I just don't understand why.
How does this change my contact prescription?
When does
if I say I don't agree, are you going to make me wear glasses?
Like, is there like a person goes in there and says, "Hi, I'd like to get an eye exam and purchase some contact lenses, but I'm concerned you don't sleep with men." Doctor, do you? Because if you do, I'll feel more comfortable here. I don't understand what the point of that is.
Do you ever get worried when you go to places like this that you're going to be like sabotaged or whatever? That you're trying to go to because say if I go to a psychiatrist, right? Because I have ADD really badly, right? But I'm almost afraid to tell them what I do for a living, and that
I think the eye doctor is a corporate eye doctor. It was a chain. I don't think they know or care as to why that was put on the wall by corporate.
Okay.
I ended up not buying contacts from them though. After I left, I was like, I'm just going to order from somewhere else and do a different company because I don't want to give my money to them.
I like ZeniMax. I haven't looked into who owns them though.
Yeah, but if it's like a small business and they have communist iconography, I won't give them my money.
Sure.
There's a coffee shop out here, and they had a big sign saying masks required. And I'm like, Starbucks is across the street. Mm-hmm. And so I went to Starbucks. Starbucks said no masks required. And I was like, okay, well, I guess Starbucks gets my money then. Mm-hmm. It is what it is. There you go. If you want to make money, don't play that stupid game. All right, we'll just grab another one here before we head over to the members only. What do we got? Vosh 1985 says this was the plot to an X-Files episode. Which one? The wildfires or something? I don't know. Maybe. Anyway, if you haven't already, my friends, smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show if you really do like it, and join us at timcast.com. Head over to timcast.com, click join us, become a member. The members only show will begin in just a few minutes. We'd love to have you there. We're going to talk about things that are not so family friendly, and then you will call in. We'll take your calls. You can follow the show at Timcast IRL. You can follow me personally at Timcast. Nick, do you want to shout anything out?
Sure. Yeah. Shout out my X account. That's where I post pretty much everything because I probably get banned on any other platform. It's x.com/Nick Sortor, NICKSORTOR, and you'll see more from Hawaii here next week.
Nice.
So,
yeah, I'm interested to see what you uncover.
We're not letting this story die. We're not going to do it, and I'm going to try to convince Tim to do a live show out there with us. So I'll set it up. Let's do it, Tim. Come on.
I think he's on board. I'm Hannah Claire Brimlow. I'm a writer for Timcast.com. You should follow Timcast News on Twitter and Instagram. It's the best. You can see work from me, Chris Bertman, Adrian Norman, Cassandra Fairbanks McDonald, just everyone who's great. You should, if you want to follow me personally, you can find me on Instagram at hannahclaire.b and on Twitter at hcbrimlow. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Hannah Claire. I'm Ian Crossland. Follow me on the internet. Get ripped, get healthy, stay healthy. Keep doing it. It's nonstop. It is your life. Dude, thank you, Nick, for going to Hawaii, man. Thanks for putting this on the map. And East Palestine, too. Thanks for going there.
Yes, sir. We're going to continue doing that because, mainstream media ain't going to do it. So,
well, we're the mainstream now.
We're doing it.
Yeah.
We're doing it.
This is the evolution of media. Thanks.
You guys can follow me at Kellen PDL on X. I always see your posts. I always see your work, Nick. It's great to finally meet you. And we need more people doing what you're doing. And yeah, go visit Maui. Take a vacation. Take some time off. Don't be so black-pilled. Give them your money.
All right, everybody. We will see you all over at timcast.com in a couple minutes. Thanks for hanging out.